fucking like. I think there's like a Kenny Baker was a bit like there's an interview with Kenny Baker's like nobody thought it was going to be any good,
And then here we are.
and here we fucking are. At what consequence, you
A
know?
global franchise, probably the biggest franchise on the planet.
I think so. I think the only one that really trumps it in terms of just raw financial strength, Pokemon. I've been told. I believe Pokemon is literally the biggest franchise ever.
And
but
that's very easy to believe.
Star Wars has got insane cultural capital,
Definitely.
Insane profits, and that toy marketing alone, like
Of course.
we're on that lifestyle. Then obviously we weren't alive for the original release,
No,
the original trilogies.
we're not.
We're spring chickens. We saw it in reverse. Which, to be fair, there's a point to be made about that, which I'll get there sort of once we start to get into it with the movies. Well, do you know what? No, it's actually better if I tell you now.
Go.
So we've obviously got the original release of the films. New Hope's like 77 as you're going on in that. Then you obviously had the special editions.
Which are extended.
Well, they're more like George Lucas kept coming back and
Moving
changing
stuff.
things.
Yes.
He would occasionally add like cutscenes. One of the good examples is
All the way up until one of the most recent Blu-ray releases, when it changes Return of the Jedi.
no, even further than that. The most
Further than
recent
that?
George Lucas change was when they posted the movies to Disney Plus.
Oh, damn.
That was where McClunky came from, which was George Lucas gave. This is by their own admission that like George Lucas gave us the cut to go to Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and it just had one wee difference where right before Greedo dies, he goes
Yeah.
McClunky.
Bro,
And it's
what?
like, why would he do that?
Why, George?
That's the thing about the special editions.
I love this
There's-
guy, man.
So when you look at Star Wars, George Lucas is a fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's
The Godfather.
great. He's smart. He has a lot of great ideas.
Yes.
I really admire how he was like, I'm going to do like this kidsy like Flash Gordon like Adventure of the Week, but also I'm going to have completely like oblique layered political commentary. Like, yes, it's just like the Vietnam War, and yes, the Empire's just like America.
Just the bads.
I really, really, really admire that. I like a lot of the ideas he was pushing, even if they weren't always 100% his generated. Just stuff about the Force, Hero 1,000 Faces, the sort of the hero's journey in that George was like sort of looking at. I mean, that comes back and up and down in different sort of movies, but like every sort of idea that really get filtered through, especially the original trilogy, it was great. George Lucas is great. He's a visionary,
Yes.
but he's also a bit mental because of
every one of them are.
the special editions are like, I have more and more technology and I can just do things with that now. But it was kind of like, to what end?
I don't know.
They're not all bad changes. There's like, they put the Jabba the Hutt scene back in from A New Hope, and then they used the CGI to make, because Jabba the Hutt originally was a big Scottish guy. He was just a big fat Scottish guy.
Okay.
He's like, Han Solo, my boy, hello.
Okay.
Then
weird.
I think they cut that scene.
Yep. That's the one in the hangar.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they put it back in and they CGI'd like
Jabba
on top. It doesn't look great.
No.
They do, like, there's this bit where they make it so Han, like, visibly walks over his tail, and I think they literally almost, like, Photoshop just, Harrison Ford just goes up, down. When I first saw that, it tricked my eye. I was like, wow, the fuck, how's that work? Anyway, the point is, though, like, that's, like, to be fair, it's still not a bad scene, because it's, like, Jabba the Hutt, he's in the other movies. There's stuff like, I know they do a lot of, like, changing, like, the backgrounds, for example, in Cloud City and Empire Strikes Back, to make them look better.
Right.
But then there's also stuff like Han Solo runs into that room, and you hope in the bit where he's running through the corridor on the Death Star.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, and he's like screaming, and he runs into a room, and it's literally a hangar of like 1 billion stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Like in the original cut, it was like a room with like 5 guys. So George was like, what if I just CG in a fucking nightmare amount of troopers?
Damn.
And it's like, you didn't need that. You don't need to keep adding dialogue to Greedo and changing who shot first.
Bro.
Like,
Han shot first.
Yeah, Han did shoot first. And that is like, literally all the books in that, like, definitively. Like, yeah, whatever George Lucas says, just don't listen to him.
Aye, we know.
But yeah, so they are weird, and that is weird enough how I first watched them. In fact, I don't think I've technically ever seen the original cuts, because you can't even really get them that much these days.
Nah.
Pretty much all re-releases are the special editions. So yeah, I didn't even know that till I was a lot older. That like I was watching it, and it was like, yeah, the Jabba scene wasn't in it originally, and like there wasn't always 100 stormtroopers in that hangar, and I'm like, what?
Damn, bro. Okay.
So yeah, I think that's an interesting way. I imagine you would be the same.
I think so. The Jabba scene I've only seen recently, so that may have been on like the Disney Plus one. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Disney Plus one is one like that.
Because I only remember seeing that quite recent. I don't really remember that before when I was watching them. All the other stuff I hadn't really noticed. No, just seemed like the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of like subtle stuff, and as I say, to the point where it is like good.
There's one obviously at the end of Return where it's Hayden, not.
Yes, where it's Hayden. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I feel bad about that,
The
actually.
original Vader.
But yeah, the original, like, Anakin, which, I don't know, the more I think, I keep going back and forth on whether I like that or not. I think I do like it. I've heard people make cases for, like, no, it's like, it should be like Anakin as he is now and not like this
Yeah.
perfected version of the one that failed type of thing. But then it's like, no, this is Anakin, like, as his prime. He gets to go back to, like, how he was at his peak. I just like it because it's Hayden, and I like that the continuity. And, like,
Yeah.
if you watch all the movies in a row, you're like, all right, look, it's him. He's back. Remember
Cool.
when he was good and we liked him?
Right. I'm not really bothered either way, to be honest.
Yeah, I 6.5 dozen. But then you say that because I remember watching A New Hope once and seeing the original Hayden. Sorry, the original Hayden, the original Anakin. So then I'm like, have I watched it? So that's why it gets into that weirdness of like being so young and seeing so many different versions. I had a DVD copy, but I also had a video copy. But I think my video was with the special editions. So
It could have been, I don't know when I started messing with it.
so weird. At least, it doesn't do anything. I looked at more of like movie people. Like, I'm a movie guy and I'm a Star Wars guy, so I'd maybe like to one day definitely make sure I'm watching the original cut for the experience of that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the movies are so fundamentally changed as a result, luckily.
Right.
So all that preamble, I kind of wanted to say all that because it gets us to a point where we can say, right, here's our opinions about the movie based on that perspective.
Yeah, that's how we saw it.
We kept it pretty like later on. I think I asked you this last time. Did you see the originals before the prequels?
Nah.
No. Did you like watch the prequels then the originals, or
Pretty sure. I might have seen one. I don't remember seeing all of them though. Pretty sure I seen the prequels first.
I think it was when the Phantom Menace was big and getting like on its train. My dad was obviously a big long term Star Wars fan, so he was like, "Oh, I can get like you into Star Wars now. Now's like the time.
Like we could do it.
We could like tank this."
Bruh.
So like with my dad's encouragement, obviously we would then get into like watching the movies and that, and that's what I'm saying. I was so young that I have like loose memories. I knew I had a set of videos.
Yeah.
I must have watched. Maybe I watched the original because I swear I only had DVD copies of like the prequels.
So you originally seen it in video?
The originals in video.
Yeah.
Cause I'm sure I still have that. Not up there, but like somewhere about.
That silver box set?
Yeah. And I watched those fucking movies.
Yeah.
Like, not as much as Revenge of the Sith. Like I said, I watched that movie end on, but I did get some use of those fucking tapes. My favourites, well, do you know what, we'll talk that. I'll just jump the gun a wee bit now.
Jump the gun, man. We're not even starting with him.
Yeah, I got as I say, I got the preamble out, and that was, the purpose was to see where we're coming from.
Like a basis, like this is where we're coming at it.
Which I don't think it does much of an impact in retrospect, although we won't have as much raw nostalgia as other people do.
Yeah.
Which will definitely colour some of my opinions about it.
Coloured the prequels for me.
Well,
Definitely.
the prequels is our nostalgia.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm like, regardless of your or my opinions about the sequels and the later stuff, there's probably going to be the same thing. Kids will grow up and get their nostalgia for it.
We have the sequels to the sequels.
What,
the sequels will have their
episode
renaissance.
10.
Oh, bro. Episode 10's confirmed.
Yeah, but like it might
But
not
it's
be
not
episode
been
10.
called, I know, but we're following the Skywalkers, so it should be called episode 10.
I wish
We'll speak about that
there
later.
was no more Skywalkers.
Me too. Because she's not even a Skywalker.
When Luke said it's time for the Jedi end, he was so real for that.
Okay, fine.
Like, yeah, I agree.
It's over, bro.
So Luke Skywalker, let's talk about Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
Okay,
So,
we're kicking off there.
as you say, originally, I think we'll start with the oldest ones.
Okay,
For
okay.
this era, maybe it's better to look at it in more release order than chronological order because
Right.
there's a lot more to deal with, and it's coloured by the fact
comes
that
first anyway.
some things came out later.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, Episode 4, so it's the progenitor, it's the basis. Obviously not originally called Episode 4, as you
Just
said.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I don't know when they decided.
I believe
mean, it's
it was
always gonna be. He always wanted it episodic.
Yes, I
always wanted.
I believe it was when Empire came out, because Empire
Right.
came out and it was definitely Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So then it was suddenly, oh, by the way, there's no Episode 4 on New Hope.
Got you.
Yeah, he always wanted to be episodic. Flash Gordon was his biggest thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he just originally wanted to do Flash Gordon. They were like, no, we're not giving you the rights to that.
Oh,
So he's like, fine, I'll make my own Flash Gordon with fucking little big space nipples that shoot lasers and
let's go.
fucking guys that like bug men and a big walking carpet man. I'm touching base because A New Hope is really great.
Yeah.
It's the cultural touchstone. It's a fantastic like encapsulation of the power in the unit of Star Wars. Everything is
It's a good one.
iconic.
Yes.
And I think I just don't care about it anymore.
Not enough lightsabers.
Oh my god, he's like prequeled in the brain, man. He watched Anakin and Obi-Wan like flipping the lightsabers in the air.
The way I need to watch 4 now is like, I understand its cultural value, but I'm not like as entertained as I could be.
Yes, 100%. That's where I'm at as well. And I'm trying to say that in a way that doesn't sound bad. 4 is great. It's a fantastic movie and I'm happy to watch it.
Aye.
It's just, my like sensibilities for Star Wars and that have changed so dramatically. And I know where I'd rather be than here.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to devalue it or to make it think like I'm like just, it's preferences. I just like other things more than it now.
Yeah.
Although, even then, I'd say even things in the same trilogy. Like, 4's probably my least favourite of the 3.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
And it's like, I mean, you didn't necessarily agree with that. To be fair, 6 is a bit contentious, but like, 4 is just like, it's like a really great building block. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
There's a lovely house built on top of episode 4, and I love living in the house. And I don't ever think about the fact that sea below my feet is the most solid fucking foundation I've ever stood on.
Right.
And I don't care. I'm too busy decorating my living room.
Yeah, I just really like it up here, you know?
Sometimes you need to look down and be like, man,
that's solid.
this brick underneath me is as solid as it could be. I mean, we say that. It's obviously, it's ridiculous. Episode 4 is ridiculous. It's a Tonka toy film. It's held together by tape. All the props are made out of like other things.
And dreams.
Like tape and dreams. And a bunch of actors who were like, this is stupid and we fucking hate this. Peter Cushing was wearing slippers the whole time.
What a chad.
Like, but then they turn around and like, oh, by the way, here's some of the coolest fucking miniatures work you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, so have that.
The prequels, the space battles of that are so good. But holy fucking shit, has nothing ever been as cool as the miniatures from the originals.
Bro.
Like when Rogue One was like, we're going to do everything about to make it look like the miniatures. I just fucking use miniatures, bro.
Just do that.
Get back in there. I think they did a wee bit, but there was times when they're like, it's CGI, but we made it look like the miniatures. I'm like, no, the miniatures were so cool.
Turn the volume off, right?
I love the texture of these movies. Turn the volume off. Sorry, I thought you meant like, no, just shut up. No
Just
more noise.
gone.
No, you mean the dome. Bro, the volume's like the dome for Simpsons. Like, you go in there and
trapped,
you're
bro.
locked in there, bro.
We are
Pedro
trapped.
Pascal's not getting out of there.
Stephen King's under the dome.
Stephen King. These movies are so great. They're so
Tactile.
Yeah, they're textured.
Right.
The feel of these movies is really great. The energy of all the actors doing their thing is really great. It feels light enough. It feels a bit like silly and we don't really care. And the emotional moments do still hit, weirdly enough. Like Mark Hamill being like absolute like a baby fucking child Luke Skywalker. I want to go to Toshi station and pick up some power converters. But then like fucking seeing his like aunt and uncle's corpses and just like fucking struck. And the bit where like Obi-Wan dies and he like screams Ben, and it's like that. I still felt that.
Yeah.
You guys didn't need to turn it as hard as you did, but I think everyone somehow not caring, but then, do you know what, let's just do it though. Why not? Let's go for it. I think everyone was pretty great in this. There's like, I think some people like to pick and part little bits and pieces. Princess Leia's accent changes a wee bit. She's quite posh in English at the start, but then she sort of phases back to like more traditional Carrie Fisher American type. But these movies are so old and so foundational that, and perhaps not for the best, but it's kind of easier to smooth over the bumps. You sort of just love it and accept it for what it was doing at the time, I feel.
Okay.
And there's not that many big bumps anyway. I'm not sitting here like, oh, fucking everything wrong with A New Hope, like fucking ding. Like the shade of grey was like wrong in that one scene. I just mean like...
Too much sand.
Too much sand. Oh, bro. Well, do you know what? Actually, well, you get my point. Like, it's like if there was any issues, like we don't need to worry about them too much because they're not that big a deal. And the movie, the whole unit itself is so cool and fun and a laugh and culturally significant. So you said sand. Let's talk about Tatooine, Graham. So Tatooine's in this.
The most important planet ever to exist in the universe.
I love Tatooine. Do you just love Tatooine? There's
shit always goes down on Tatooine, bro.
Do you know, in episode 7, he's like, why do I have to go back to Jakku? Why do I have to go back to Tatooine?
Bro.
Like, everything happens on Tatooine.
But you know what? We're not even going back to it. We're starting
this
here.
This isn't even like back. We're here.
We're here,
We're here with the fucking Jawas.
The twin sons.
There's routinis.
Let's go.
There's like a fucking spaceport. You'll never find them all. Richard.
There should be a corpse out in this desert.
There should just be like fucking like bones.
Bro.
Bones in the desert. You know, we're so early on now that Tatooine's a joke. Like, Tatooine is in the modern era like a joke. Like, everything's on fucking Tatooine and we're always going to Tatooine.
Literally everything.
But, like, this is what I mean about the tactile nature of it. like from the start, from like your first movies where they're just establishing like here's a big desert planet. It's literally just Dune.
Yeah.
But like there's bones and like Anthony Daniels is out there sweating his ass off in like the C-3PO suit. Like the moisture farms, the Jawas.
The Jawas.
This is we talked about this in the last episode, but this obviously as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The world building out the gate was like so fucking cool. George has had a bunch of fun ideas. I don't even know necessarily where he got them from, but like, you know, it's a desert, but there's these little like goblin men who like drive around in big tanks
shit.
and like steal things, and
Yeah.
you also have to farm for water because it's a desert.
Duh.
So like here's little farm ends and that. Like the look of the Empire is established in this one. Like it's iconic for a reason. We can't just keep that's like everything was done so definitively at the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, the big evil
Simple,
triangles.
effective.
Like the concept of the stormtroopers is like, yep, faceless, like evil fucking white fascists.
Clean.
Darth Vader,
the greatest movie villain possibly
on
ever.
that fucking scene.
Boom.
Oh my fucking
And
god.
then he speaks.
The
and then he
voice,
speaks,
James
bro.
Earl Jones, and the breathing. And like, and even the dialogue. I've been reading from a certain point of view, which is a collection of short stories to celebrate the anniversary each of the original trilogy films. So I'm reading the first one, which was the 40th anniversary of A New Hope. And like the stories are like they're from the perspective of different characters at different points.
Right.
So like the perspective of Captain Antilles, the guy who's like in charge of the ship, the Tantive 4 at the start, which is interesting. It actually starts at Rogue One.
Yeah.
It starts from Leia being given the plans and like CGI Leia saying Hope at the end of Rogue One.
Right.
To then A New Hope. Then there's stuff like the Stormtrooper who brings Leia to Darth Vader, or like a Jawa on the Sandcrawler, like during like the events of like the bit where they sell the droids.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yeah, there's seeing the dialogue in reverse. A lot of people joke about the dialogue of Star Wars being so kitsch and so like pulpy. Pulpy's a great word. This is pulped out the nut.
Pulpy.
But I love it when I look back on it. I think
70s pulp.
it goes to show just the stamp it put on it. Where like even the stuff that I think in the modern era would be a bit like, alright, that's a bit silly and nonsense.
Right.
But you can respect it as like so definitive of a time of cinema, of like a franchise as it is now, and respect obviously say it's old, like 70s made.
Yeah.
And it's just like so fun. I love it. I love looking back on these things.
It's a good one. You know, it doesn't hit the heights it should later on, but you know, you can't knock its influence, everything it sets up, everything it hits you out the gate.
What do you like about it?
What I like about it, I like how simple it is. It's very like ABC. It's not trying to overcomplicate it with stuff, and it's just sort of like, I don't know, man. I think that just simplicity just does everything really well.
Yeah, there's no complications to it too much, realistically. Not that I don't like complications, but you know, when you're setting up things, like when this is the starting point,
Yeah.
even though like again with the Flash Gordon influence, like the whole opening crawl, like you actually technically are jumping in the middle of something.
Yeah.
Like you've shown up and some things have already happened, but like you already know who's good and who's bad, who's like what's the goal, like what's the fixed definitive thing that needs to be dealt with. It's a brilliant foundation, as I say. Like I say, I like a lot of elements of it a lot, to be fair. Like you say about the lightsaber fights, I'm like a big proponent of like emotional stuff and like choreographed fights and that, and this one isn't really for that. The main lightsaber fight is literally just Obi-Wan and Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Like
Two old fucking guys.
Look at the sticks, but it's still like a great emotional moment.
Yeah, well, I get it's like it's drawn from its influences because like you'd think for like Japanese samurai movies there'd be a samurai fight every 10 seconds. There's actually just not. There's very little in them. So I understand what they're trying to do. I don't know. I just want it to be a bit more lightsaber fight because it's a bit more fantasy.
Well, that's the
those
thing,
films.
though. You know what's the problem? So have you ever seen some guy did a reimagining? There's a video on YouTube called like SC38 Reimagined, I think it is.
Right.
Which is like scene 38, maybe. I don't know. I didn't watch it because I was annoyed by its concept. It's basically, I'm going to use like CG and shit to like do a new Darth Vader Obi-Wan fight, and it's like literally like fucking, this is what Star Wars always should have been, or like, this is why we have technology, and it's a fucking like super prequel lightsaber fight, and I'm like, it's two fucking old ass men.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that for this story. I don't like that. Like, I agree with, like, because we now have more modern sensibilities, it's less remarkable.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily make me believe, though, like, it should be more. Like, let's remake Star Wars, and then this one, Obi-Wan does a fucking kickflip. You know what I mean? And Darth Vader fucking rips the walls of the Death Star apart or some shit.
It's a bit, like, antithetical to, like, modern fight scenes where they need to do, like, 20 cuts to, like, make it look cool. But this one's like a 2-shot and a wide, and it's just guys hitting a stick at each other, and it's still like you know what it's for, you know what the subtext is, they explain the subtext
It's
to you.
purposeful enough, yeah. You get
exactly
everything that needs to do is done. It's accomplished. So I don't need them to constantly like
change it and then like
update it.
shit.
I don't believe that. Like I wouldn't have get any more out of it if like Obi-Wan was like flying around and fucking Darth Vader was like doing 360s and that.
Yeah,
like
I
that
might have been more visually interested, but like it wouldn't have interested me in any other way.
And at what cost as well?
I would maybe lose interest in the story.
Yeah,
told by the fight.
Like the big fights are good for the movies that are already built with them in mind. That's
exactly.
This
like
movie
3's fight being so intense is integral to 3.
Yeah,
and it makes it better.
And they're built around having the ability to do that. Like back then,
Exactly.
they never really had the ability of the character to do that.
Yeah.
They were like, let's just have like a samurai, thoughtful,
Yeah.
just clash of blades, and it establishes like the powers and that establishes the mysticism because everyone also just like poofs.
Yeah.
And fucking Darth Vader's like, what? Like, what happened there?
Bro, what's going on there?
And like obviously it does for Luke what it does for Luke, so that's I'm happy with that for that reason. And then I really like the space fight. I really like the Battle of Yavin.
That's a great fight.
It's like the whole
Fantastic.
sequence.
The whole end of the film is great.
It's a fantastic end to the film, and even when I talk about how like maybe like so and so about the film, and I don't care about it as much, I still hold that particular moment really high. I just think it's really great in terms of like every facet. It has clear stakes, constantly building tension. They were really good Star Wars in the original movies, and I think they've not really been as good as they used to be. But like having like the random little pilots and like the little big Porkins just died. Graham Porkins is dead,
bro.
And it's like, oh my god, not that guy. Like
bro, we
I
liked
saw
him
and he died, and I'm sad about that.
Fuck.
Han Solo comes back, and you're like, shit, Han's great. He's a good guy. Luke uses the Force. So this movie is obviously the debut of the song of the Battle of Yavin is John Williams' like tour de force at that point. So John Williams shows up, rocks out with his cock out, like, I'm going to make some fucking music for this goddamn film.
It's like, stand back, watch this.
And the guy goes absolutely ape,
my
bro.
beer.
Like the opening crawl theme, like the Obi-Wan theme that became like the Force theme and that.
Imperial March.
Well, that wasn't until the second movie.
Was that not the
You
second
don't hear
movie?
the Imperial March and A New Hope at all.
Bro. Mandela affected that, didn't it?
Exactly. But the Battle of Yavin, which is like just I have that song on my Spotify playlist, and I listen to the whole. It's like 8 straight minutes, and you can feel every up and down of
8
it.
minutes of
you know what I mean?
ear-bursting awesomeness.
Literally, I can place every part of that music to that part in the sort of the narrative.
Yeah.
Which is like insane to me.
God damn, bro.
The bit where the Death Star's like blowing up, like the dun 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 dun. And you're like, oh my fucking god, it's gonna shoot, what's gonna happen? And it blows up, and everyone's like, yay! It's like so great, and then it ends with a big fucking like medal ceremony as well.
Cool medal ceremony.
And it's like
Luke's got
ludicrous.
his fucking jacket on.
That jacket is dripped the hell up.
And they never wears it again.
Never, not in the movies.
True, he wasn't.
You gotta read those goddamn comics, bro.
Damn, man.
Luke's got the drip, man.
Okay.
So yeah, you were right. It's a simple and complete unit.
And that's it. We're starting from there.
We're starting from there.
Solid.
The foundation is laid, and it is the most solid foundation ever.
That's it.
It's even got that element of like, you could just keep going. I guess technically the ending with the medal ceremony is a bit like you could just stop it here as well. We did it. We beat the Empire. I guess there's the Darth Vader like flew away, but even back then, this is the funny thing. To look at those elements back then. So when the movie first came out, Darth Vader was just like the henchman.
Aye.
Darth Vader was like, oh, like here's the big angry henchman guy who's gonna like get in your way, and then at the end he gets blasted away. Whoa, he flies away. It's like, oh, looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again. Like we don't need to worry about that guy anymore. But like then it's like, no, by the way, it turns out he's fucking so much more. I want to see that. I want to get into George's mind, like going from like 4 to 5, because famously, I don't know if this is confirmed accurate, but famously it's pretty much accepted that George didn't know Luke was going to be Darth Vader's son.
Right.
Spoilers.
Sus? What?
I want to know what was he thinking when he was like, no, do you know what? Maybe that guy never died, so I can bring him back. And what if I like make him edgier? And what if I make the next one edgier? What if I keep the story going? Because again, it was always going to be more episodes than this. And like, what was his ideas for the prequels at this time?
Yeah.
Did he's obviously said that like he was able to do the prequels when he did because of technology, but like, did he always have those ideas then?
Nah, probably not.
Because contained on its own, episode 4 comes out, and it's a very interesting look at that world compared to now what we know. The amount of things that Star Wars later layers back on itself.
Yeah.
The Darth Vader thing is the biggest one, like how that recontextualizes everything.
Right.
it's really fascinating to try and strip away the layers and look back on what episode 4 was at its core.
Okay.
You know, Luke and Leia weren't sisters. They were like
they kiss?
romantic. Like that was
they
going to be
kissing?
Again, he must have not known they were brother and sister until 6 because they kiss in 5, so he was still
Definitely.
pumping that train.
And looks like very happy with that.
He looks absolutely pogged out his mind on kissing his sister. He doesn't give a flying frick.
Well, I mean, the characters don't know brother and sister yet, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's
although in
alright.
that same movies, when I'm pretty sure, does Yoda not mention there's another Skywalker in that movie?
I don't know, bro.
Yeah, he does. Because he leaves to go save them from Bespin, and that boy is our last hope. And I was like, no, there is another. And I'm like, can't it be Leia because they've just kissed? George. But yeah, the main thing is to respect the foundation, respect the craft, the passion. Insanely popular. It blew the fuck up. People were in love with this goddamn movie. Toys kind of exploded. They were selling those goddamn figures.
Toyetic.
I love the loose, like, the cannon around toys. So, like, all the Cantina aliens.
Right.
Let's talk about the Cantina scene for a sec. That is such a great fucking sequence. That was like, let's just cram that full of fucking cool ass prosthetics and animatronics. And like, that's a quick developing universe. Look how big this universe is. There's all these wacky aliens, and they're all just having a drink, and nobody cares because for them that's normal. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, my friend doesn't like you. Turning into like the toys of like, okay, well, here's a guy who looks a bit like a moose, so we'll call him like Moosehead, and here's like fucking like Bug Eye, and here's like fucking like Snagglebeast,
John, bro,
literally, like, and then obviously they would go back and have like other names in that in canon, Mufftack, like I love the culture of the Star Wars toys. I think there's a lot I'd like to talk about there, but it would just be me recounting toy shit to you.
Toy shit.
But the culture around Kenner and the Star Wars toy universe is insane and hilarious, and I love it.
An extension.
And it does still go to this day, to be fair, even with the newest movies, when everything's so hyper-detailed.
Goes slowly to this day.
Slowly?
Goes slowly to this day. Drip fed.
Well, yeah. Yeah. There'll never be something as cool as there was last time where they would just put a fuck ton of figures. Although, we still have, like, there's a really fun thing about Force Awakens where there's this one guy, a background alien called Constable Zuvio, and they made a figure of him.
Right.
And people were like, oh, man, this guy's like a cool design. He's Constable Zuvio. He must be like a big deal fucking character.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how it used to be. Like, anytime a figure would come out, it'd be like, man, he's getting a figure. Like, is he like a cool guy? How's he going to influence the plot?
What's going on there?
What's his relevance? What's going on?
Yeah.
Or he was in the background of one shot.
And now he's got a figure.
And now he's like literally a critical character. But then with the extended canon, they would also give them all stories. The extended canon did start quite soon. I think the first book was before Splinter of the Mind's Eye was literally like before Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Revenge. Splinter of the Mind's Eye was before Empire Strikes Back.
Damn.
So like the first extended canon book was immediate.
Okay.
Although Splinter of the Mind's Eye was like, I'm pretty sure even not canon to Legends because it was like, what the fuck? But it had some wild shit in it. Like Luke and Leia
that will no doubt take.
Like going for the main MacGuffin in that book is a big force crystal called the Kyber.
The Kyber?
Literally.
Sauce?
Well, yeah, like big if true.
Big if true.
And then you had like the Marvel comics as well. I'd love to read the old Star Wars Marvel comics because there's some wild shit in that.
Right.
They do like an Obi-Wan flashback to like the Clone Wars, but like it's nothing like obviously what we know the Clone Wars to be.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan looks so weird. He's got like he looks like something out of Dune, but not like Villeneuve's Dune, like fucking
David Lynch.
Lynch's Dune, yeah. He's got like I need to see if I can find a picture. I think he's got like a black headband. It kind of looks like the old Ralph McQuarrie art. Ralph McQuarrie, I'll give a wee shout out to. So he does the concept art basically,
right, for
Star Wars, and his art is like so cool. It's so interesting, and like a lot of it obviously never even came to pass. But then Star Wars has a big thing about keeping it like linked into it, referencing Ralph because of how he helped develop Star Wars visually anyway, even if not all of his designs were taken.
Right.
Like he did concept for like back the original drafts of Star Wars, back when it was called like I think it was like the Adventures of Luke Starkiller and the Journey of the Wills.
Oh, based.
Or something like that, the Journal of the Wills. So Luke had like a gas mask on and he was called Luke Starkiller, and like I think Darth Vader had like a white lightsaber, and like so Rebels is big on taking from Macquarie. So the original Zeb for Rebels, he's based on like a purple like big hairy monster,
right,
from Macquarie art that was the original design for Chewbacca,
right.
And like Lothal, for example, and then some of the Macquarie art, I think it was his original idea for Tatooine. It's actually more like what Lothal looks like with those like sort of weird conical pillar types.
Yeah,
that's just like straight out of Ralph McQuarrie, which is why Rebels has such a strange art style. We might talk about it a bit more when we get to it. Is like because it was they were like we're going to base this directly on Ralph.
Right.
So Ralph gets a shout out because he was great and really helped develop the language.
Fair.
But yeah, I don't want to like keep spinning in circles, but I just love paying homage to stuff. There's a lot of like elements here, you know, like I say, like John Williams, Ralph McQuarrie, like ILM, like the development of ILM and the stagecraft of like miniatures and that. Like Star Wars was cutting edge technology, weirdly enough at the time. We joke about like it was held together by paper and dreams, but it was actually seriously fucking big deal filmmaking.
This is it, bro.
It was a project and it paid the fuck off. It's just now, with our modern sensibilities, it's wild to look at it and go like, we've seen so much more of what this would turn into, that it's quaint.
It's quaint.
A New Hope is quaint.
It is quaint.
In retrospect, but it's strong.
Humble beginnings,
strong. It knocked the door down, best foot forward, and I'm glad it started such a universe. I want to give it its due dividends for that. I joke about hating Star Wars, but thank God for A New Hope.
Ah, man.
That's how we get Star Wars. Imagine a world where A New Hope flopped.
Damn, you just don't have it now.
Star Wars. This is the start of Star Wars. This is the Star Wars.
The Star Wars.
You ever seen one of the old adverts?
No.
Like for like Saturday morning announcer, like join Luke Skywalker. He's joins to fight the evil empire in the Star Wars.
No.
Bro. So we're all happy. We're all smiling. Everyone's giving out medals.
Yes.
And George Lucas was like, man, you know what? What if the next one was evil?
What if the next one, by the end of it, you're all crying, man? You all don't know what's happening.
What if there's just suffering and misery?
And you know what? Cool, man.
That's Star Wars Episode 5.
Based.
The Empire Strikes Back, and it is thoroughly based.
And they do strike the fuck back.
Long held to be the best Star Wars movie and one of the greatest movies of all time.
Hard agree. I think it is the best, probably still. Yeah.
I do not agree, but
yes,
that's more because I lean a lot more on my personal enjoyments. I do think, like, looking at it in terms of like a creative sense. So let me get it right. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back is fucking incredible. Oh, it's a great movie. However, I personally get a lot like disconnected from a dialogue if I get overwhelmed by it. And everybody and their mother loves to tell you how great Empire Strikes Back is. So see, after hearing that for long enough, I sort of start to question it in my head.
Damn.
I'm like, is it really as good as everyone says? And it is really, really good.
It is that good.
And there's a lot to love about it. Although I do have things I maybe nitpick or stuff I don't care about as much as others. The point being, though, while it is great, and while I maybe don't love it as much as everyone else in the world, structurally and creatively, it is very, very great and solid. It takes really interestingly from what was like set up in Star Wars. It really was like George Lucas looked at it and he was like, right now, let's extrapolate. We have all these fun little pulpy characters. I now know I'm going to do 2 more movies. Surely he knew he's going to do like 2 at this point.
Yeah.
Or he's like, I know I'm moving forward. So how do I push this out? How do I now develop deeper emotional narratives?
Right.
How do I give things more weight and purpose? And the Empire was big on that. Empire was like, we're now going to be an edgier, darker film. There's going to be more like fighting in that. This is like, we're going to make you feel things. We're going to challenge you a wee bit. It's like the darkest point type of thing. It's really big on like, I'm sure they didn't create this, but obviously that the story idea of like.
I mean, I was about to say he's accidentally created like the blueprint because.
Well, that was he the one who like.
This becomes like when people speak about the second part of
true,
anything, they say,
the Empire.
"Oh, it's their Empire."
It's the Empire of the trilogy,
and like they create a. If you look through the history of cinema now, you'd be like, oh man, some of these second movies in longer series are like still the best regarded. Dark Knight, T2, stuff like that. They're just like,
Last Jedi.
My God, they're just like, oh, they're so good because it creates like some sort of weird blueprint thing for it to follow. The upcoming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is being regarded as the empire of the story.
Bro, Gungaga's in that.
Oh my God.
Me? Gungaga. That's for the 3 people who like get Final Fantasy memes that listen to us.
Deep ground.
Investigate deep ground. Yeah, like I was saying there, like, was he really the first? He maybe even was.
There's probably
many major motion picture trilogies were there by that point.
Before that point?
Aye.
When did Indiana Jones start, right?
But I'm pretty sure Indiana Jones
It's after it, right?
The first one was like after it, I'm pretty sure.
I think the first one, maybe the first one before it. But the second one's after, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely that.
Right.
So 1981 for the Lost Ark.
Okay. So we don't even have that yet, which makes sense because that's also a Lucasfilm property. I don't know. What other, like, apart from, like, old stuff, like, all we do, Pink Panther, like, 2 and 3, or whatever. Like, that's not going to be you know this. Do you know what I'm saying?
But it's that.
But it's like a series.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to say, because even Indiana Jones, which released after it, was still episodic.
Yes.
Which, even though Star Wars is episodic, it's episodic and ongoing.
Through line, yes.
It's taking from TV.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Indiana Jones and Pink Panther and that, sure. Like, movies back then were just more like, oh, we have some, like, Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
I mean, they technically were based on the books, obviously, but, like, anytime they've done that up to the point, it's been more like, we have a series of characters and places, let's just put them in a situation.
Yeah.
But, like, Star Wars was like, no, this is going to, like, end on. It's serialised.
Yes, exactly.
It was George Lucas saw serialised television. He's like, can I do that on a movie scale?
Which is what everyone wants to do now. They want to have a franchise. They want to do 20 films, where I think, like, we've lost a bit of the... there's, like, a handful of films that come out a year that are just, like... like, independent, or, like, they're just not trying to set up a universe shit. They're just trying to do, like, I just want to just do a story and then I want to leave. I don't feel like that happens enough.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing just because it's
because it's so close to some point some other guy made.
No, I'm laughing because you just always say this.
That's because
like,
George Lucas saved cinema and ruined it, right?
I also don't disagree with you either. That's like, I'm laughing more just because we always have this discussion, because it's pertinent and true, even if I don't agree with it as strongly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel exactly the same, but I do still get it, and you're not wrong. And I'm just laughing because we always get back to this. Exactly. Cinema is dead, Graham.
Yeah, and we're not here to save it. Yeah, so
you.
Even if you don't agree with me saying that, like, there's like a handful, there's definitely a lesser amount than there used to be.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, what's weird to watch is, like, like, you've either got the big franchises and then you've got, like, the middling. Like, you've not got, like, middling franchise work anymore that's going for a committee. Like, Star Wars back in the day was just Star Wars 1, 2, and 3, or 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And even though George Lucas was transparent, like, I'm doing 4, 5, 6, I will do a 1, 2, 3 at some point. That was still, like, it's weird now. When I look at franchises in the modern era, it's literally like, it's either going to be an entry and it's going to be a building block in this giant fucking wall of a franchise, or there's just not going to be any continuous narratives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like, I don't really think... Is there any, like, films these days that you think of that, other than, like, say, Dune, because that's a direct adaptation?
Yeah. And you know you're going to get... It's going to take 3 movies to adapt 1 book.
Yeah. Other than that, can you think of any, like, non-branded, like, Star Wars, Marvel, all that? Can you think of any actual ongoing cinematic narratives at the moment?
Cinematic narratives? I mean, Equalizer 3 just came out.
Hey!
That's an overall.
But then, to be honest, like, Expendables 4...
Expendables 4 is a movie that came out this year.
While those movies aren't, like, I'm sure the highest of, like, quality of art form, they're maybe what we need to give the respect to of being, like...
Absolutely.
Maybe there's an element of, like, why did we need an Expendables 4? John Wick's a great example. John Wick is a great example.
Fantastic.
John Wick is good.
Yes.
It's just... And it always goes on and on. Like... You're right about...
But
like,
even that, we've got a TV show coming out. There's a fucking game or something coming out. Like,
sort of going to milk that straight through, aren't they?
Yeah.
Nobody's making an Equalizer game, don't worry.
They're not, unfortunately.
Although, did they not do a TV adaptation
Of the Equalizer?
Aye.
Maybe. Or it's maybe just called the Equalizer. I know what you're talking about, though.
Aye.
Man, they done a Taken TV show.
Did they?
Yeah, bro.
They did?
Yeah.
Was Liam Neeson in it?
No.
Okay.
I think it's younger Liam Neeson played by a different guy.
Right. Yeah, it's just like, because like, Star Wars is now its own thing, and like Marvel, I was thinking Blue Beetle's the thing that's in my head, because it's like, I mean, yeah, we're moving into the James Gunn's newer universe, but like, yeah, there's like, that movie's like...
But we're taking him.
Aye, they're taking like that guy, but not the movie, but that guy's definitely coming up.
Yeah.
Like, movies like that...
Right.
I don't know about them in the sense of, like, how much credit do we give them for locking into a narrative like that? Like, Blue Beetle's, like, a movie in a universe.
Oh,
like,
that it's solely focused?
Yeah.
Like, it's only dealing with itself?
Yeah. Blue Beetle's maybe going to have, like, a reference to something that could happen in a potential Blue Beetle 2, but it's not like... It's not like Batman versus Superman, where they were like, we're going to devote a bunch of time to, like, the Justice League, because you're going to get another bunch of movies about them.
Aye.
So, like, how do you think about movies like that in regards to what you're saying? Because you're like,
well, it's different, because if you go in like, we're building this universe, I need XYZ hit. Here's an allowance to like 2 movies to go and do like a wee individual thing. That's probably what they say. So if you were to do that project, but all the movies were Blue Beetles, it probably wouldn't sing as well, because they'd all be trying to do like their own wee story. But you need that connective tissue if you're doing that universe thing. So it's probably like that. They gave them like, oh, you could do like 1 or 2 of these individual ones, go and do your own thing. But at the end, I want you to like have it be open enough that they could interact with it later on. So I think that's what it is. So I don't know if it would work as well in the universe, obviously, because it wouldn't be as connected.
Do you know what? I think one of the biggest issues is like It's just what their core writing tenets are about as well.
Right.
To reference what we talked about in the Secret Invasion episode, the original Marvel Phase 1,
Right.
if you think about it, was actually great for that.
Right.
It was just a series of like focused character stories
that
like had the little hooks that were like, oh man, Nick Fury is about.
Yeah.
Like those characters do bump about, and there could be an ongoing narrative here, and then they do twist it together into Avengers 1. And even from that point, probably pretty much all of the first 3 phases of Marvel, even if there wasn't always hits, I think that actually was great in itself.
Yeah.
Because it was just a series of singular stories with singular character focus, but then they would blend where they could, and they had the overarching narrative of Thanos and that.
Yeah.
It's just the problem now of universe building is like a lot of people don't really know what they're doing with it. Like they're not, there isn't a singular narrative vision. I feel, what's what we talked about in Secret Invasion, like where is Marvel going at the moment? Like I trust Kevin Feige, but I'm not really seeing anything paying off that trust. That's why it feels bad and bloated, because they're just throwing stuff at the wall and things are coming out, and it's like there's all these random like references to other things that might or might not happen, but like I don't really know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If it's like an Easter egg, when is it going to happen? How are they going to work it together? DC's never been able to get it off the ground so far. Like they keep fumbling their universe narratives.
I think they had a vision. Was Zack Snyder? They at
least had a vision.
They decided to just get super involved and change it.
Yeah, they were very like, even me who like, professionally hates Zack Snyder.
Yes, for a living,
like literally for a living.
Snyder.
I can agree. Like Zack knew what he was doing. He had like
he wanted
I'll
to
give
go
him the credit
a place.
if he got to do his like 1, 2, 3 Justice League.
I would have loved it personally.
Like it would have been, in fairness, a coherent, progressive narrative.
Yeah.
But like instead, it's just too many. Like everything has to lead to something not quite related, and like how relevant it's going to be. Like Batman vs Superman has to set up like Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman, but then like if they do like a Wonder Woman thing, it's not really going to be related to Batman vs Superman.
Be like our own thing first.
Yeah, it's not like they're linked. It's just that one thing holds up a sign like, go watch Wonder Woman, and you watch Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman's like, cool, thanks for watching Wonder Woman. Go watch Aquaman when that comes out. You watch Aquaman, and Aquaman might suddenly be like, oh man, watch Aquaman too. Yeah. And it's like, where am I being led here? Zack Snyder's Justice League would have been like a 1, 2, 3, which to draw it all back is what the strength of the original Star Wars trilogy was. It was like we're going to do an actual coherent, progressive, serialized narrative in cinema. It's going to have ongoing stuff. It's going to have like plots and that. And for that time, as far as I can see, it's like I don't think there was anything quite on that scale at that point.
Definitely seemed like first of its kind trilogy. We're franchising. We've got toys on the go. We've got 3 movies happening.
I mean, to be fair, they even did have like books and comics by that point, but it was like a buzz, I guess. Do you know what? I'm going to say something that's like completely contradictory to everything I've ever said in my life in the past. But
oh my god,
like back then with Star Wars, none of the extra stuff really mattered as much though. Like if you like Star Wars, you could read the books and like, oh man, that's cool, or read the comics and like, man, that's cool.
I mean,
and I guess maybe
none of it matters now, really.
True, but there's always a thrust to try and make everything work together.
Well, of course, because otherwise, why would we have it?
And back then, it was the opposite. They just was like, a guy was like, I just want to write a book about Star Wars. And like,
bro.
George Lucas was like, that never happened. And they were like, cool. And people were like, it was still a good book at least. And like, these days, I think people do have like that.
Yeah.
I think the problem's like, they need to...
I think, hold on, just to stop you there. I think it would have been better if Disney never cancelled the EU that they had and just kept that. That's canon, that's not, that's canon, that's not. Just kept doing it as they came.
Okay.
Because then it would have allowed people more choice in the adaptations that they do now. In the future, they could have had much more choice than they do, because it seems quite, maybe not restrictive, because there is quite still like a lot of choices and avenues they could like go through, but I think that they might feel restricted now because Disney seem to be like, you can only do this and this.
So I disagree with you completely.
Damn.
I hope you die, actually.
Oh my god, he's killed me.
Well, so no, I think the decanonizing of the EU was good because it resolved an issue of like it was getting too bloated.
Right.
But that's a consequence of the gappage.
Right.
See, when you have Star Wars coming out and like there's movies in the theatre and you have like fun things to get involved in, like the Marvel comics, people probably weren't sat there like they were like, these comics are really cool. These are little stories that happen in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And then the movie would come out and contradict, and you'd be like, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
It's when you stop having Star Wars.
And only
like,
Star Wars content is
now?
the EU.
Like, Timothy Zahn shows up and he's like, I have a fucking trilogy of books for you. And it suddenly becomes like what the only thing it is, and it's beyond the trilogy. Oh, there's a whole thing here. Then you start to like consider, right, well, now there is a narrative.
Yeah.
And
then have something after.
Same thing happens with the prequels. So Disney basically saying, look, cancel it all. We're going to restructure the narrative. But then the problem is that like, they're like, I feel like they're trying to have their cake and eat it.
Right.
because they're too wishy-washy about how well they adapt it.
Yeah.
Luckily, nothing's as bad as like you're watching a movie and you like read a book. Sometimes there is, and that's a problem. I don't like books being used to patch gaps.
Right.
Because then that's just like, but what a waste of my time. That's just a feeling of your property that you're then trying to like cover up with like a whole other thing. I like when they occasionally bring stuff in from the books and reference them as active separate entities. Right. So Cobb Vanth being in Mandalorian is like, he is a book character. He had a whole story in the books, and even basically he references it. He's like, oh, here's how I got my armor, like just because you asked. And it's like, if you want to go read the books, you could. There's a whole story there. Thrawn as well. Like, I'm of the mind that like they might not pay much attention to Thrawn's canon books, because obviously there's new books. There's the old Thrawn books and then there's the new Thrawn books.
Yep.
I'm like, they might not pay that much attention to it because I'm just grown to assume that they're not going to. I will say, and this is actually a little spoiler for you at the time of recording. I'm not going to tell you the whole depth. Technically, in the newest episode of Ahsoka, which you've not seen, they technically reference Thrawn alliances.
Right.
Like, they don't explicitly say this happened in this book, or I know this character does. Thrawn just basically acknowledges something that's like, oh, I know he knows that because of the book Thrawn alliances.
Right.
So that is by and large a book reference.
Right.
And you could then go and investigate that if you wanted, but it's not essential.
Okay.
And I like that sort of weaving narrative. I just worry that like they're not really, and in other places they're completely pissing on the books, or like they're throwing about stuff. So like Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, they went to great lengths to give Poe a backstory in the comics and the books. Right. And then Episode 9 was like, by the way, he was a drug dealer for a little bit. And then it was like, well no. In all the books and the comics that you told us was important, he was never a drug dealer. When was he a drug dealer?
Bro.
So I had to put a book out that was like, oh, by the way,
Before
there was
that,
this little bit there where he was a drug dealer.
This little bit.
And it's like, see that? I hate that.
Right.
That's like, you told me, Disney, well, we're going to cancel like EU because we're going to make it more coherent. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily need to work together in terms of like, you have to understand it all, but there's now a very neat, layered, cohesive narrative. And then Disney were like, by the way, fucking eat shit, bro. Like, Poe was a drug dealer, deal with that, write a book about that.
Lol.
Like,
cool.
Kanan was there at the Bad Batch were there during Order 66. That wasn't in Kanan the Last Padawan. Fucking who cares? Dave Filoni himself has this thing where he sometimes occasionally seems to be shitting on Dave Filoni's own work. He has this thing where he sometimes crosses over. It's like, Dave, that wasn't quite right. So like,
man's done a lot. He's probably forgot some shit.
This is Disney's dangerously approaching like a period. It's not so bad. It's not like the whole thing's going to collapse in itself. But every time that happens, I'm annoyed by it. Right. Like, come on, guys. You said this was going to be cohesive. You said it was going to be like unified, and it's not. It's like sometimes the books are essential, sometimes the books are irrelevant, and that's what I prefer. I like them getting rid of the EU because there was so fucking much, and there's so many wild fucking ideas in that, and it would have been impossible for Disney to go forward unless, as I say, they micromanage it. But then there was literally that much in the EU. It would have been difficult for Disney to just like two bins and like canon, not canon, canon, not canon. Right. Like, there's like 15 different Thrawn books. Right, aye. And like, there's like a whole like past episode 6 narrative. Yeah. The books just kept fucking going. I know, yeah. To like the distant fucking future. Yeah. And it was like Luke's grandson. Aye. And there's a hot fucking Twilight lady Sith. And there's bug people from another galaxy. Yep. And they dropped a fucking moon on Chewbacca.
Don't worry, we'll see them soon.
God. Well, that gets back to, because you were saying about like people don't really feel they have the ideas. I disagree, because we're getting literally what's happening in Thrawn, in Ahsoka, and that is literally Heir to the Empire. Yes, they fucking reference the goddamn name of the thing. Wow. And there's been a lot of other like Legends pulls. It's just more fans have an issue where, and this is, we'll talk more in The Last Jedi because this is more reference to reception and stuff like that, but fans have this idea of like, this is what I knew, so why isn't it like this? Why aren't they adapting this, that, and the other thing? Right. And that's the biggest issue. Like, I don't think people don't feel like they can adapt it. It's just, it's now like, if you don't feel constrained to that. Right. Because Timothy's on that book, you don't have to do it at the Empire. Or the Empire's good, so like, do it. Right. But like, no one's saying you like, no, the Yuzong Vong definitely happened. You need to drop a moon on Chewbacca. Right. Like, fans will act like that. Fans are like, no, those were my books, and I wish those were happening. I think Disney have basically said, no, it's all clean. If you want to dip and dive, go ahead. I'm sure Disney have got like a mandate. Right. I'm sure they're really like, no, maybe don't do that. Yeah. But
don't kill off one of our most recognisable characters. Yeah. Please, thanks.
Like, don't drop him in on Chewbacca. Yeah. But then, like, also, George Lucas had an input. People will forget George Lucas himself famously like did not give a fuck about Legends.
Yeah.
Like he was like, man, there's like, what do you think of like Mara Jade?
Do what you want.
And he's like, fucking, I don't care about Mara Jade.
Yeah. Fuck
Like,
her.
I don't care if you drop them in Chewbacca. That's not what happens in the movies. And
Yeah.
I care about the movies in Clone Wars.
So
Like,
bye.
cool. He was going to like reference them. He was going to put the Yuzong Vong in Clone Wars, although he was going to like change them because like Yuzong Vong, they're like not affected by the Force and they can't use the Force because they just don't have the Force in their galaxy. And George Lucas was like, "That's stupid and dumb, and I hate it. The Force is literally everything all the time,
Everywhere. The
Shut
life
up."
force. Yeah.
So he was going to do the Yuzong Vong, just avoid that because it's just like, well, that's not me and I, the guy who made the fucking film. So.
Suck my dick.
Oh, but we flew quite dramatically off topic. But I think we've got the point out in terms of like.
Man, sorry, we zipped in his web.
It's just because it's a really, really gripping topic that's going to be relevant to a lot of your interests. Universe building, media franchises.
And it all comes from episode 5, the greatest movie ever.
It really does start back then. Alright, let's refresh then. What makes episode 5 so great?
I think you knocked a bit of it earlier when you were like, it's just sort of like builds upon everything placed down by 4, and it makes it more, and it's like in a more serious way, like you said, to make it a bit darker. We're getting a bit more serious here. We start off, we're in like a war with the Empire on Hoth, then we're getting separated, and just shit spirals. We seem to just take L after L in this film, the heroes.
And that in itself is like a big deal at the time for making movies. Like, oh my god, like the heroes actually lose in this one.
Yeah.
Like this is a pulpy Flash Gordon film, but it's actually like, oh no, you guys just like fucking suck and lose, and like Han Solo gets like captured and
it's like, yeah,
Luke
you
loses an arm.
Last time, like, you caught us with our pants down, you had us beat, but we're an empire, so we're gonna show you what that is next. Like, you might not be able to
The
handle it.
Empire will strike back.
Yes.
And
Come
they
to
do
the
in
dark
this movie.
side. We have cookies.
Fucking Imperial March is kicking about.
Oh.
Darth Vader's da-da-da-da-da-ding about the place.
Yes. So you thought you were safe on Cloud City? I'm actually already here.
Yeah. Like, I'm altering the deal pre, I don't alter it further.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of, like, this movie does, like, really challenge the characters, which at the time would have been such a newer thing. Like, such a, like, oh no, it's a kid's pulp movie, but no, people are, like, feeling and dealing with shit.
Yeah.
Characters
Heroes can't lose.
There is, like, the immortal, like, the twist of, like, look, I am your father, which is, like, so fucking amazing and, like, again, cinematic history.
Yeah.
Like, that's just so cool that they did that. And, like, what does that mean? And how does that recontextualise, like, Luke and Vader? What does that mean for Luke's journey and the shit he goes through?
Bro.
Oh, it's, like, so cool and beautiful. Billy D. Williams is in this, and he's great.
He's having
He's like
a ball.
smooth talker, but then he's like, actually, I'm a bit treacherous. There's like treacherous people in this. There's duplicitous people in like dodgy areas, and like it's just not safe and secure. Even though the first one was tense, the first one was like safe and secure, and we knew where we were and where we were going. We don't really know. Like the heroes are like scattered. We don't really know what we're doing or where we're going. We need to figure out where we are and what our place is in this like universe at this point. It really is interesting.
Luke has to
see
deal
it.
with some like personal shit.
Yeah, Luke, this is what we're saying. How in the first one, like Luke does experience stuff. There is emotions, but it's all very surface level, basic stuff. I think the most dramatic thing in the first movie is like Han Solo being like, "I'm a bit of a scoundrel," and then they're like, "Be a good guy," and he's like, "I should be a good guy." In this one, it's like Luke's like fucking facing his personal demons and shit,
Yeah.
and it's like, "Oh man,
Man's like walking about inside trees.
I literally, what am I going to become? Like,
Bro.
who am I? Who could I be? Like, the temptation of evil is ever persistent, and the struggle to like be a better person is ongoing. And my love for my friends is important, but that should not overshadow like my personal training. And Luke makes mistakes. He goes and he fights Darth Vader and he loses.
Bro, and he loses.
Yoda's in this movie.
Yoda's in this movie.
Frank Oz's like
Being a
revolutionary performance.
Yup.
Yoda, you seek Yoda. That fucking
Fuck,
puppet
bro.
is incredible. I love puppet. You know,
Han
puppet,
Solo
you're a purist.
becomes a brick.
Han Solo becomes a brick.
Yep, big
He
wall.
does, they stick that motherfucker in some carbonite.
Damn,
and
man.
Boba Fett's there.
Boba Fett.
He's the action figure
The
guy.
greatest character ever made.
He is the action figure guy. He's like that Cosmos
Yeah.
reveal. They put an action figure and like, this guy Boba Fett. He looks so fucking cool.
So fucking
Oh
cool,
my
bro.
god, I fucking love Boba Fett.
Oh my
And do you know what? I
God,
think
10
Lucas was
toys.
like, man, I think Lucas did actually originally plan for Boba Fett to be shit. I think the original episode 6 plan was that Boba Fett was the other Skywalker.
Bro, let's go.
And he was like Luke's brother or something,
Based.
or Han's brother. There's like a whole fucking thing. If anyone listening to this ever gets the time, like look into the making of Star Wars, look into like the original drafts and shit. Like some of the fucking old ideas were whack as shit, bro.
They
And
cooked some
wild.
shit.
George Lucas was fucking smoked up the nut. He was on that premium Dagobah pack.
Oh.
George Lucas went into the dark side cave
He was in that swamp, bro. That dank-ass swamp.
He was swamped out his mind, mate. I do really, really appreciate it, and I really like the starting and the ending quite a bit.
Yes.
The only thing that like detracts from me is I do feel like there's a bit of meandering in the middle. Like, I think that all the Han and Leia stuff are just sort of like Han and Leia just dick about for a little while.
Kissy smoochy.
Yeah, they have like their whole sort of well, they won't they going on that ends with them Luke kissing Leia, or Leia kissing Luke, I guess is how that works. But and I'm not saying it's bad. That's why that's the whole thing. I really need to go out my way to be like, I'm not saying it's bad. It lowers my personal value for it because I personally don't really care for Han and Leia dick about with R2D2 and C3PO. Sorry, not R2D2, C3PO and an asteroid.
Damn.
Like, that is going somewhere, but we're not there yet. The Luke stuff's interesting and compelling.
Yeah.
Although I famously hate Luke Skywalker, so
yes, but not yet.
Such. Not yet. I like Luke Skywalker at this point. Thumbs up. But like, with the benefit of hindsight, and these days I'm like, I just don't care about him enough, so maybe I don't like the Middle Empire because
damn, man.
I don't like Luke Skywalker and I don't care about that. But it's literally that. If I sit down, I'm like, no, address the fact that the Luke stuff's important. I still think the Han and Leia stuff is just a bit meandering, although I guess it's good for the narrative because it's like, what are these guys up to? Well, they're getting up to some nonsense.
Okay.
But then that's it. It's like Luke's doing some training, Luke's feeling emotions. Let's check in with the B team. They're just potting about a wee bit.
They're just messing about.
But they do eventually get to Cloud City. I really like Cloud City as a place, actually. I don't talk about this enough. I fucking love Bespin. I love like the reds and the colours and that, the matte paintings. Do you know about the matte painting situation?
Guess it's the background, right?
Yeah, so back then all the backgrounds are like painted.
Yeah. Do some interstellar shit.
Bro, does that still do matte paintings?
Yeah, because man's like, I don't want CGI.
To be fair, yeah.
I think it's paintings. If it's no paintings, I don't know what the fuck it is.
I love
man's
that
in space.
Gavin's in space, to be fair. I'm sure he'll be up there. The matte paintings, especially for Empire, are so good for Bespin. I love it. I have a book of the matte paintings that's like,
beautiful.
I don't know where I put it because it's old. Oh, it's so gorgeous. I'm not trying to personally bring it down. I just want to make it clear that like I don't value it immensely. But when I looked at it objectively, like I try my best to just be like, no, it is really impeccable for like the time and for like what it did for movies now going forward. And like, you know, when you do watch it now, even though I say I find the middle to be meandering, that doesn't necessarily mean it is. It's all very well constructed. The character work is great. The dialogue's great. It's actually very well paced, to be fair.
Yes.
Like,
I think though.
You just fucking love it.
Yeah, I think it's the best one still. Don't think anyone's dethroned it. The next one comes close, but that's it. You're right. Episode 7 does slap.
Oh yeah. Episode 7 or episode 4. Oh no. I don't want to be. I know we don't need to like microanalyze everything. It's just that matter of fact. Like, props to it. It was amazing that George came out of this. He's like, nope, here's my fucking franchise. Episode 5, bitch. You missed the first 4. Pop on the telly.
Get on there.
Hit up Sky 1. Like, see what you missed.
Come on.
And yeah, it just fleshed out the characters. It really challenged everybody. And it's like, no, we're doing a compelling narrative now. And I think it especially works more in the complete version. At the time, I wonder what it would have been like to like watch him. Like, man, this is where we're at. Now? What's going on now? I agree with the statement that famously, if Empire had been released now, Star Wars fans would hate it.
Really?
Star Wars fans, like,
damn
fans, you know, like fanboys and that.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, because it does a lot of stuff.
Man, hold on. Are you saying this is the old Last Jedi?
Oh, I'm not the only one saying this. This is a long accepted, like, opinion by people online.
What? Explain this to me.
Okay, so if you take the opinion of like the bad Star Wars Last Jedi haters, like I'm not saying like you, for example,
the racist and the like misogynists.
And no, maybe not even that. I mean, they are existing. They are terrible, and I hate them.
Yeah.
But even just the people who do what's called bad faith arguments,
right? Okay.
Who just like say shit that's like, come on, dude. Like, there's a lot.
Think about this a bit more.
Think about it a bit more. Watch the movie. Open your brain. Or just don't be so pedantic. For example, the Last Jedi features like Luke doing like the whole Force like projection.
Right,
people are like, well, that wasn't in the books before. That's not canon. I hate that. They pulled that out their arse. Let's say Empire Strikes Back comes out and Obi-Wan appears as a Force ghost in front of Luke.
Right.
I guarantee people are like, well, hang on, there wasn't Force ghosts in the fucking last movie, so how's that work?
Right.
Or like, you know, like in the context of just the Empire Strikes Back, if you think about the Luke Skywalker, like, I am your father, like the Darth Vader twist.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, well, that came out of nowhere. Like, when was that previously established? Like, people, if you look at the Kylo killing Snoke in The Last Jedi, like, as a bit, like, short fact, like, oh, that's interesting. But you look at it and it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, Sith always trying to, like, level up and kill their master, and Kylo's got his own thing going, and Snoke really wasn't that important to a character type of thing.
Yeah.
it's like that. There is rationale to it and logic, and it means stuff for the story. But like a lot of people take it at face value. They don't try and get invested and try and embrace it in like an emotional and a storytelling capacity. They're just like, no. I care about the minutia of Star Wars. The fucking bombs at the start of Last Jedi. You know how in the start when they do the bombing run and the bombs are like, people went fucking insane. They're like, no. There's no gravity in space. How did the fucking bombs fall? That doesn't make any sense. Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars. And it's like, they're literally in the Empire Strikes Back. They're fucking, see when they're hiding in the space slug? Two TIE bombers do a bombing pass and the same thing happens. Bombs fall down in space. So, like, these are things people bitched about now.
Yeah.
They probably would have bitched about them then. Like, or like, why would you not? Like, if you're going to say, why does Last Jedi get bombs falling in space? Why is Empire Strikes Back get bombs falling in space? And also, The Last Jedi almost makes more sense because you physically see them turn something on.
Right.
Like, the bombs visibly do something and then they fall and they're inside a ship. So, gravity... I'm going to... I'm getting into it. I get heated. That's the point. Like, there's a lot of things in this that, like, pedantic little fans who strip apart the universe now. Because that's one of the threats to Star Wars that reared its head during the sequel trilogy. I
think this is like it's just bound to happen after so long.
Oh yeah, aye. Every major franchise has that.
Like when 5 came out, it was like, oh, there's a Force ghost. Oh, it's probably just because the Force can do that shit.
Do
you know? But now we've got so much evidence of the Force doing other shit. They're like, oh, how could that be possible now? I guess that's why they're saying that. So I just think after like, so long, things like that would be...
The problem's more like, what for what purpose? Look, so when you use the Force, it's like, the idea of like, why can the Force now suddenly do this? Why can't the Force now suddenly do this? Everything else up till now was, the Force can suddenly do this.
Yeah.
Emperor Palpatine can fucking shoot lightning out his hands, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Why can the Force suddenly do that? Because it just can. It's the Force.
Yeah.
Like, there's the
like, I've never had a problem with the Force doing shit.
Like, the people... And, you know, maybe I'll give them a passing credit if they're in good faith and, like, are not fucking idiots. Like... Disney decanonizing the EU and streamlining it is like, you have to have that sensation. A new Star Wars movie's out. They're going to have fun new things happening in the universe, interesting new Force powers, wild new places. Or like, there's other stuff, like the bit where she shoots the Holdo maneuver, the bit where Admiral Holdo, I fucking hate calling it that, the bit where Vice Admiral Holdo blasts the ship through the Star Destroyer, and everyone being like, well, why didn't they just not ever use that ever before? And why didn't they do that to the Death Star? Why didn't they fly spaceships at the Death Star?
Because we would have died.
Yes. Because we would have died.
And we had a plan going.
And also, people are like, why wouldn't that work the same way all the time? Like, why would Vice Admiral Holdo flying a fucking spaceship, like a big ship, that was a capital ship, into another capital ship? There was a big capital ship, but it was still a big ship. People are like, why couldn't they have just done an X-Wing on the Death Star?
Because an X-Wing's tiny.
It would have fucking pinked off the Death Star.
The Death Star is a planet.
The Death Star is that's no moon. That's a space station.
Yeah, bro.
So like, I'll probably dig more of this up when we talk about Last Jedi. And
I see what you're saying. I think maybe I don't think it would be the same level of division if it was come out now. I can see what you're saying though. There probably would be points.
There's things that people have now that are like, you wouldn't have issues of like fucking like certain narrative type stuff and that.
Yeah, but I think there would probably be points where that argument would
hold
true.
The Last Jedi, like the sort of stuff around the sequels is like, you can divide it into certain areas. You can have like people like you who have like, I have more like certain preferences in regards to actual quality of content and narrative potential and stuff like that. You have like, I'm a racist. I'm a bigot. I saw a woman in Star Wars and I was unhappy about it. And then you have like this third people, that's who we're talking about here, which are like, I'm going to pick this apart with a fine tooth comb because I get nothing better to do my time, and Star Wars has to abide by my fucking rules that I set up in a Kenner rulebook from 1993. Like, bro, I wish I was joking.
I know, it's just a waste.
I wish I was joking.
The delivery was perfect.
I'm a racist. Like,
clip that. I'm a racist.
Like, hi guys, I don't like Last Jedi. I saw like a woman in it. Killing me, trans, not from America, and I don't like that. I'm a racist.
Delete Canto Bite.
Do not delete Canto Bite. It was based, bro. If you want to delete Canto Bite, delete the fucking space slug shit and delete Dagobah for this movie. Fucking fight me on that. You can be like, nothing happened. Nothing fucking happened in the space slug. They just went to one place and then to another place.
I was good.
I'm happy with that one. I'm so sad that that's not a voice clip that exists.
Listen, don't worry, it's fine.
But yeah, I like, that's the gist of the point, is that it is, there's a lot of similarities in that way. Again, you know, certain things don't cross over, but when you compare how things were back then to how
Yeah.
things are now, and like some people act as if like some heinous crimes have been committed when those same crimes were committed back then. It's really interesting and fascinating, and I will say I think it started to die down a bit.
Right.
Like, a lot of people don't seem... Like, I've not heard people complain about Ahsoka being like, there's another fucking galaxy.
Right.
And people are like, well, there wasn't another galaxy before. I've not heard that.
Aye.
Either those people are shutting up, or they're just like, don't care anymore.
Right.
And both those things are acceptable to me because I don't have to fucking listen to them.
Yeah, they are.
Anyway, then we got into the best of the originals, Return of the Jedi.
Damn, man. It is second best IMO, but not by that much of a margin. It's still really fucking good.
It's okay, so Return of the Jedi, originally called the fucking exceptionally pogged Revenge of the Jedi.
Which is a bit like,
holy fucking shit.
bit Sithy.
What the fuck are you up to, Luke Skywalker? Which, to be fair, he is going through it a wee bit in this film.
But he doesn't, he gets revenge in a very unrevenge way then.
Yeah, I think revenge is too harsh for what it actually does.
Yeah.
And it's the return because it goes good and...
Return of the Jedi isn't really about Luke returning, it's actually about Vader returning.
Vader returning, Vader's the Jedi who returns in this.
Exactly.
It's pogged. So I've always long held the belief, even since I was a kid, that I love this movie more than any of the other two. Like, I was like, this is just really, really
this
cool.
This just spoke
great.
to you, and it was the teddy bears.
It was.
Yes. I actually don't like the Ewoks that much.
Why don't you like the Ewoks?
I'm just like, why do we need to have so much of this? Like, I'd rather have a bit less of it, to be honest with you.
I guess I can give you that, but like, in what way? Like, what are you cutting out? Do you mean just like the fact that the Ewoks are in it so much? Because a lot of people complained the Ewoks were like, why are the teddy bears fighting the stormtroopers and winning?
I don't know. I feel like at the end when we're jumping between Luke and like Leia and the fucking resistance down there, I feel like that's a bit too much. So I feel like just cut some of that out.
Okay.
So we're just on Luke, or we're just getting the resistance done, and then we'll go and do all Luke. I would rather that. I don't like the
I think that would have
much.
fucked the pacing a wee bit, because the whole point was that it was a consistently ongoing thing. That's where the tension comes from.
Yeah.
The idea of, like, can these guys get the Death Star buggered before it blows up Endor?
Yes.
While it looks fighting there, and the Emperor's like, they're down there fucking dying as we speak, loser. I think the teddy bears, the only thing that I don't stand here for is all the time they spend with them up to that point, and like all this sort of fucking about. But then I really like what they represent in terms of like naturalism and like, natural earthly harmony, and like the world and like nature will ultimately bear victorious over the horrors of man-made horrors, technology and machinery, technological terrors. Like, they are ultimately
the industrial revolution,
the military-industrial complex.
We are here,
and also Vietnam. I'm pretty sure the Ewoks are just the Viet Cong.
We're just in here.
But
guerrilla warfare.
When I was a kid, I just liked the things that happened.
Okay, I mean, it starts off with a bang.
We're on Tatooine.
Back here, back again,
back at it again. Like, the whole thing with Jabba the Hutt, it's fun, it's interesting. We're now in like a pure den of inequity and like absolute
den of inequity, den of sin. What is Leia wearing?
God, what was George Lucas cooking,
bro? Damn, man.
Oh man, guy made a lot of children really happy with that. But
that was
in the
awakenings,
modern era, not that I'm like a pure woke liberal, like, but what was she wearing? Like, what was the deal with that?
Some sort of golden bikini.
But it did obviously emphasise Jabba being weird though. He's like, I'm a slug man and I love licking naked women, I guess. Okay, Jabba.
That poor Twi'lek as well.
Oh god, aye.
She gets fully thrown to the what's this thing?
The Rancor. Patissa Mucci.
Based Rancor. I can't believe it. It's real. It's got a name. It's got a story.
Okay, it's actually got two names.
Okay.
Because like it was called Patissa.
Right.
And then like in the Bad Batch they have the Rancor episode and it's called
Rescue
Mucci.
It. Yeah.
And then they heavily imply that's the Rancor, but then was like, no, the Rancor is called Patissa and it's a different thing. But then Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga.
Let's go. Clears up for us.
It's like it was referred to as Patissa Mucci.
Oh, okay. First, last name.
And yeah, or like Patissa, I believe, is like a word in a foreign language.
Okay.
And like
a
the Hutt language or something.
Yeah. Hutties.
Like literally, like Hutties is right. I think actually when you said Hutties, I think you were right there. And that means like friend or like beloved or something. So like maybe like Mucci's the name and like Patissa's like a nickname.
Okay.
Because the thing with the Rancor Keeper just having that one shot of sobbing and being so deeply
sad.
upset.
So sad.
That's like fucked up, bro. What they did to Malakili, his name is. I know my names, bro.
Look out here, bro.
Look fucking kills.
Yeah,
so like that's Luke. So Luke shows up. Fucking just suffocates some pig guys.
Man's just like, bro.
Man's like killing people, and he's like,
"I will Revenge of the Jedi.
Jedi, I will kill you."
I will. I'll do what I must.
And this is that whole thing of like Luke's now, he's in his prime, he's confident, perhaps he's cocky, he has to learn, he has to understand. It's great to watch Luke grow. He's now like, even though he's like kind of doing bad things, he's wearing all black, he's also like so wise and like so like resplendent.
He's definitely like, don't know what the word is. He's not a master.
He's not a master, no.
He's getting there. He's on that.
But
he's close.
He's just definitely, he's growing in clarity. He's starting to understand.
Yeah.
And that's really fascinating to watch. I guess I like, so a lot of people kind of say like, you've got like the start of this movie and then you've just got the rest of it and they're two different things. Obviously you had to like deal with the whole Han Solo thing. And I think it's a good start because it just gets every character all together.
Yeah.
And we figure it, they resolve the loose thread from the last one.
Yeah.
But it kind of gets us to where like Luke's here and he's wiser and he's older and he's planning stuff.
Doing shit.
He's dealing with some stuff. Leia's like fucking as proactive as ever, but she's now even more proactive. She's like wearing the disguises, saving Han, wearing the bikini, like suffocating Jabba. You have a great big action sequence. I love the Pitakarkan. I love like the Sarlacc.
But like, you know, we kill Boba Fett.
Boba Fett?
Boba Fett?
Where? And then Boba Fett, aye, the pit.
Blind ass Han.
Oh, bro, what a fucking moment that will just haunt us for the rest of our lives. And even in Legends.
Like, he should have died there.
Bro, do you know in one of the Legends stories, Boba Fett, like, comes out of the pit. I think he has to, like, fight some Jawas to get his armor back. And then the Sandcrawler one rolls back into the pit.
Bruh.
Like, the guy fucking just can't catch a break. But then he, like, breaks out with, like, the help of, like, Dengar. And he ends up being, like, the best man at Dengar's wedding.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah, that's quite nice. Dengar and Boba Fett are, like, just pals. They're, like, just great friends.
Bros. Come on.
They're just great friends. They could be great friends in this, to be fair. There's an episode of the Clone Wars where they're together, so, you know. Simon Pegg voices Dengar in the modern era. Did you know that?
Damn, man. Vibes, okay.
Literally. But that's a great sequence. More like the pit looked cool. Jabba looks cool.
Yep.
Like, there's like a bunch of like cool like aliens and shit. It's a fun fight. The energy, the unity and cohesiveness. Like the fucking the music again. Like the bit where he like signals like R2 shoots lightsaber. I think that is the coolest shit. I'm always so happy when you talk about better lightsaber action.
This is it.
Like this is like Luke's jumping about and he's waving and that.
We're getting there. I mean, episode 5 had it leveled up. It got me a bit there. This is like we're getting there.
Oh yeah, there is. I suppose we didn't really mention because there is that really great episode. Like the Luke and Darth Vader fight in episode 5 is actually quite fun and cool.
It's good, but it's not as good as the end of this one because the end of this one's more like
emotionally charged.
More like
it's a finale as well. Like you know, this is a final confrontation, and there's a lot more writing on it.
Yeah, 5 is just more like it's just a fight here, but 6 is like this is like ideologies battling. This is like father and son battling.
Exactly.
There's like 3 layers of subtext.
This is like the thing where Return of the Jedi has the same effect as Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Although Revenge of the Sith was more like we know we're going to end up in this third movie. Return of the Jedi is more just look, here is what we have built up over these past 3 movies. Here is like the emotion and the characters and everything that's been said or done has led up to this point. This is the ultimate confrontation against evil. We get the introduction of Ian McDiarmid's The Emperor.
The Emperor.
That just... I gushed about it in the prequels, but he is just sublime. He is so infinitely evil. He looks
just
so evil. And he's like a rotted old man who can like shoot lightning out his hands. And every single line of dialogue is just like, oh, I'm going to kill you.
It's the fantastic imagery with the web.
Oh yeah, he's got a seat at the web. At the window, he sees these big spider's web, and he's just the way he
everything
presents everything as well. Like that's what every line of his is like massively evil, but he's so calculatedly evil. He's like woke up in the morning and he's scripted out exactly what to say to be the most.
Yeah.
Like he just loves being a bad guy.
Like I could picture the Robot Chicken sketch right now where he wakes up and he's like his lines. He's like, evil as fucking and a stormtrooper walks in and he just fries him.
I'm rehearsing.
Yeah. He doesn't even then mean he's like, oh, sorry, I got a coffee, and he's just like,
stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Fuck, bro, it's literally it. You know what? That's like this is the thing that Star Wars did back then, where it's like great because you never even need to know. I don't want to draw it back to this. I'm sorry, but like let's look at Last Jedi again quickly. The whole thing with Snoke, and it was like, why didn't we get his entire backstory? See, he's just like the Emperor showed up, and he was a shriveled old fuck. He's like, by the way, I'm literally the ruler of the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
But all you had to understand about him was that he was like, yeah, he's a fucking evil old bastard. And do you know what? We should get him.
We could get him.
And I love that Luke also doesn't get him. So that's we're talking a lot about the end because everything really gets great at the end for story wise.
Yeah.
I think the whole movie's great. I think there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of great scenery. I guess to be fair, I don't really feel much of like an emotional or narrative through line up until right at the end. It's just Luke going like, by the way, like I need to deal with the shit with my dad, and then finding out about Leia, I guess.
And being like, oh, by the way, you're my sister.
Yeah, and there's some emotional stuff there, but the real crux is just everything from Luke getting to Endor and like going and meeting Darth Vader. That's like where the whole stuff, you're really focused there.
Aye.
Because that's the most quintessential thing, but they make it so beautifully important. Yes. Like the dialogue and the imagery, every single facet of that moment from him meeting Vader to the end is like perfectly sort of constructed to reflect what's going on, where their heads are at. I mean, every single little thing. Alex from Star Wars Explained once pointed out, like when Luke first meets Vader on Endor, like he turns himself in, and the officer brings him to Vader, and he talks to Vader, and Vader's a bit more like leaner. He's a bit more like, no, you can't save me.
Well, he's like that, but he's also like, you're more important than him.
Yeah,
the Emperor. Like, it seems that he's going to turn already.
Yeah, he has that bit where he looks away. He literally, Luke leaves, and then Vader just stops, and he looks. And it's like, you've given Vader just the most barest of moment of wistfulness, and that speaks volumes for, like, he's thinking, he's pondering, he's going through it. What could this evil monster be feeling, dealing with his son? Like, this son who's like, I love you, Father, I'm, like, here for you. I'm going to give you a chance.
Yes.
Despite the fact that you are as evil as you could be.
I know you want me to rule with you, but I can't do that. So, like, I can just accept you and, like, be my dad.
That shit is fucking pogged out of the nut and around the corner and up the way a wee bit.
Oh my god.
And, like, everything in the fighting area, like, Luke fucking...
Not giving in to his anger.
Not giving in, but then, like, having the anger, which I'm not going to drag it out more because I'm, like, bookmark this shit because when we get to The Last Jedi, we'll get back to this shit. But, look, having anger and like dealing with the frustrations and overcoming it and like being a human and dealing with his like emotions like that.
Because the Jedi have emotions.
I do think, like, say by the way, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. That's one of just the best fucking moments in cinema for me.
Yeah, man.
It's just so good. Ooh. I'm like, yeah. Fuck yeah, look, you are a Jedi. You're like in touch with your emotions, but you're wise. You don't give into, you've not given into like hating this moment. You're doing the noble thing and you're fighting against the ultimate evil.
Yes.
And even in the modern era, I don't like the hero worship of Luke and the fandom and that. But at that moment, Luke is the best version of himself he could ever be and has ever been.
Damn, man.
He is like literally like an absolute paragon in that one moment. And I don't think he has to be like a mythic god, but he, as a thematic hero, like what it does for the story and the character, like that moment is like great to see because it's such a delivery upon the whole thematic through line and the whole character arc. Every single moment it's got up to that point and it's so like, it's like the peak of a mountain.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then it immediately
this is
pays
the
off
Star
as
Wars
well.
Everest.
This is the Star Wars. Like Luke reached the top of like his character arc, and it's so distinctly peaked out. There's no muddying here. He climbed and he got there, and it's like holy shit, we're there.
Yeah.
And Luke is so fucking cool. He's like, I'm not engaging in violence. I'm engaging in love. Like, and that changes Darth. And then we have Darth like, Jay, do you know what? Fucking, I love my son. I'm not doing this shit.
Yes.
Throws the Emperor down the pit.
I shall be redeemed.
Throws the Emperor down the pit to like an early grave. R.I.P. Emperor Palpatine.
Rip the boy.
He's dead. And it's
dead, never to return. Dead. Over. Dead.
That's what they say at least.
Yep.
And it just is. Oh, it fills me with such vigor. I love Star Wars when I think about like all the stuff at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Damn, a peak.
That's one of the reasons why I love it so much. I also just really like the fighting. That I love the space battle. I want to mark the song "Into the Trap" by John Williams, which is the song that plays when they go into the space battle. Okay. Like literally, like it's a trap. Like when they fucking get fired upon. Like that song's called "Into the Trap," and no one ever talks about it. But I think it's literally one of my favorites, like top 3 favorite songs in the entirety of Star Wars. It's got this amazing like pounding like orchestrated beat, and it sounds like we're getting in a fight. Oh no, hang on. Oh no, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong.
No, it's over.
One of my favorite line reads in Star Wars is when the Death Star blows up one of the ships, and like Diane Numb's like, whoa, and like Lando's like, that blast came from the Death Star. That thing's operational. And then they like have to scatter immediately. It's so good. I like the battle on Endor. I think it's like wild. I do think there's an element of like, it's like teddy bears with like rocks and that beating the Empire. I like it for what it means, and there's just good moments in it that make me accept it. I like all the events around the shield generator, like like the
hiding behind the doors.
Literally, and like they come out and like the ATSTs and Chewbacca's in it. Fucking, I think it's just great. a great. It's like
Captain Rex is there.
bro, Captain Rex is fully there. Fucking that is Captain Rex 100%.
It's funny, man.
I love it, bro. I need them to properly address it. I need someone to like say it definitively.
Like Rex was there.
Because there's books in that basically keep going like, oh, by the way, like there's like a kid's retelling of Return of the Jedi,
right?
And it's illustrated, and there's like a scene in Endor, and it's like all the rebels like fighting. It's like the rebels fought with the Ewoks against the Empire, and the guy whose name is Nick Sant, you can see that old guy, and like he's got Rex's gauntlets on.
Oh, bro,
his like poncho pulled back. You can see like the white and the blue, and I'm like, you know it's Rex. Dave Filoni knows it's Rex.
Everyone knows it's right.
Like, come on,
just say it one time.
But yeah, I really just I it's like everything that I loved about the first one, but just upped even more for something. I think it's because by this point they've really got a knack for it.
Right.
Like they're fighting, they're doing these big battles. Like episode 4 didn't really have big ground battles. This is Hoth. To be fair, Hoth is one of my favorite scenes in all Star Wars as well. I love a good ground battle. The music on Hoth, everything about that was great. And so this one, they're like, right, we've got it. We know you like a good ground battle. Here's like urban jungle warfare, so it's a fun new sort of twist in the terrain. The Ewoks, how they use that, I think that's a reason I like it. I like that the Ewoks like use the environment, like the log traps and that. I always love, you can tell there's the ATSC that gets crushed by the logs. You can tell that they're like stop motion. You can see them move, and I love that. I fucking love stop motion so much. That's some fucking literal like that's the top notch shit that I live for. Oh,
some clean copium for you and veins right there.
I literally I'm smoking that stop motion pack, bro. Fuck CGI. Christopher Nolan was right.
Bro, come on.
Fucking, was it Christopher Nolan? Yeah. And it was Interstellar.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's bad. That was a lapse in judgment there. Apologies to the movie people in the audience.
To the movies.
I think it's just, I will say, when I looked at it in the long run, the start of it is, even though it does set everything up, it is literally just like a whole separate story. But there's a bit of joy to like coming into a story that's already in motion, wrapping up, and then like, I don't feel like it's not like they needed let's say they cut out Tatooine. There's not really anything they could have done with that extra time that would have made anything better. Everything else is fine. It has enough time to do everything it needs to do. So I'm really, really like pleased with that. I don't feel like it lulls at any point. Right. It takes a breather after Tatooine because we had a big sequence. Now we'll take a moment to touch base, make sure everyone's alright. We have a plan. We're going to the Empire, and then it picks back up more and more and more to the end. Yeah. Okay. That's why I think I like it more than Empire. Damn. Just because the
you think it's a bit of an easier watch?
Kind of. I think it's more just that the minute-to-minute stuff is a bit more engaging. There's no moment in Return of the Jedi where I'm just like, okay, Han and Leia are meandering about inside an asteroid. This isn't a bad scene, but I'm more engaged when like they're rescuing Han, or like they're making a plan to like fight the Empire, or like they're investigating this fun new force and that. The most meandering this gets is like Leia meeting Wicket and that, which admittedly is like, again, it's a nice important scene in that. It's the bit where I obviously am a bit less like, okay, this isn't as interesting to me as like the other stuff. I would like us
to quietly get by
this.
But
that's leading into stuff. Right. Like Han and Leia and the Space Slug doesn't really go anywhere other than just making Han and Leia closer and putting them from one place to another. Not like the Space Slug comes back at the end. No. Leia meeting the Ewoks is like leading into the Ewoks. Yeah. So it's all still relevant. Okay. So yeah, I feel like maybe easier watch is probably the best way to put it. It's just more engaging for me. Like the minute to minute is just infinitely more interesting and fun for me. But that's also a personal preference. I just like what they show me more. Okay. And that, although that being said, like as I say, the start and the end of Empire is great. Dagobah as well. I like what happens in Dagobah, but it is just a swamp. Yeah. And I don't like looking at a swamp as much as I like looking at a lush jungle. Fair. Or Tatooine. Okay. I know we hate Tatooine, but like Tatooine's a vibrant desert, and then we're specifically in this really fascinating locale. Like the sail barge in Jabba's palace are like so cool and weird and interesting. It's like a torture castle, and like his fucking Jabba's pleasure barge where everyone's like smoking cigarettes. Jesus. And shit. Okay. I really do love it, and yeah, it's unequivocally like my favourite of the originals. It's like my second favourite Star Wars movie. Okay. Well, I just like suffering, so that's why I like 5 more. You would. You would be like, this movie gets everyone sore and painful, so I love it. Yeah. Okay, well that's OT. We love them. Cool. That is a groundbreaking revolution in cinema and storytelling. And now we're going to go backwards, regressive cinema. Yeah, so let's keep it sort of in narrative. The two things we'll look at here. So we have a big long gap. We have like the books. We have the prequels. We have the Disney acquisition. Yes. Now Disney clearly they came in and like, right, people fucking like Star Wars. We've not had movies in a while. Yeah. We need to make some money off this acquisition. Let's pipeline some shit. And that shit needs to be mostly originals. Yes. Because at this point, Disney weren't confident enough to say the prequel fans will actually show up. Yeah. all we really have in terms of feedback about the prequels are you all hate it.
Yeah.
Apart from these kids who just make memes about it online.
I love it.
And love it. At that point, Disney were not confident enough that they could properly do prequel material.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, people like Star Wars, so let's just do...
And at the time of the acquisition, like, the meme culture was not as strong as it is.
Yeah, I only really get
Like,
more and more after Disney. Back then, it was literally just like,
yeah,
the prequels were actually better than we thought. Let's
look, we
give them
memed
some
more
credit.
base back into cinemas. Like,
I was
you
going
know,
to say, the
we
power
have
of memes,
power.
they're like, oh.
But
I think the meme culture gets out of hand, to be honest, because once...
well, definitely, but
The problem with the memes is they now start being deployed, like, violently. Prequel memes on Reddit is, like, the main subreddit for it, and it became, like, a fucking war ground.
Yeah.
It stopped being, like, let's make funny references to the prequels and celebrate it, and now let's, like, supremacist the prequels.
Yeah.
The sequels, trash shit. Disney are terrible. The prequels are the best things ever.
Yeah.
March for Warfare. We are the clones in the fucking Clone War.
like, let's not. Okay.
Alright, cool. Like, you guys were fun, and now you're just weird, so I'm going to leave.
Yeah, man. No, it's not
You're
for
like,
me
get
now.
out of here, like-
Goodbye.
Bye. We'll start with Rogue One. So
Okay.
Rogue One was announced not even that long after, I don't think, to be
Right.
fair. I think after the acquisition, it was like kind of early doors. I feel like we knew about Rogue One really soon, but...
I thought they fully went sequels. Like, first one was
Well-
like, we're going to do Force Awakens.
Well, it's not like they bought it and announced we're going to make a prequel
It
and a
wasn't like
sequel.
straight away.
I think it was
yeah.
just more like Rogue One was... Because I believe Rogue One's always been on the cards.
Right, okay.
I think... What was it? Rogue One or was it Solo? One of the two was like...
Always happens.
Actually, it was, yeah, I think George Lucas was like, oh, well like, we're going to like float a script.
Right, see what happens.
Because Rogue One was Gary Whitta. I think it's Solo I'm maybe thinking about instead then.
Okay.
That, to be fair, that was an interesting thing. It was like, okay, well, let's have, now that we've decanonized the EU,
Yeah.
which has got literally 3 different interpretations of how the Death Star plans were stolen.
Right.
Let's
We're
tell
going to
a-
give you the actual
Well, I'll
one.
tell you a definitive story about that.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. It was like a really interesting go at it. We're going to do like a... I think it
thriller.
was Gary Whitta that pitched it. Gary Whitta was the writer. I'm
Right.
saying that because I need to assure myself because I'm right. It was like, let's do like a grounded... It's no lightsabers. It's going to be like a grounded story.
Yep.
It's going to have like, yeah, more sort of
Espionage.
espionage type elements. It's going to be about just regular people doing like a heroic thing.
Hmm.
And it's going to be really grounded in the texture of the originals.
Right.
You've not had that for... At this point, they've not had the originals for so long.
Yeah.
And it's only been the shiny CGI, the prequels. So we're going to go back and we're going to show you like X-Wings and AT-ATs and Stormtroopers. It's going to be like how it used to be.
Okay.
Which was also the premise of like Force Awakens, obviously, but Force Awakens is
Yeah.
still its own new thing.
Aye.
Kind of,
In the vein of the prequel stuff.
yeah. Like this is more like, no, this is going to be like the originals. Maybe
Yeah.
like newer with newer sensibilities and that, but still, you're going to see it and you're going to know this is like, oh, look, Leia Han.
Yeah.
And it came out and it did well.
Yeah, you love it.
I really like Rogue One, and I struggle when a lot of people talk about how much they don't like it because I've never really understood why. But I fully admit it's not perfect. But I really do enjoy Rogue One.
Okay.
I think it's a really good looking movie. I think so. First off, the issue with Rogue One is Rogue One had a troubled development. It
Right.
had really extensive reshoots. Like literally the first like 2 trailers, or at least the first trailer for sure. There's a bunch of shit in those trailers that just do not exist in the movie. They're like for
Right.
completely different cuts to the movie.
Okay.
The only thing that I think is sad that we missed is that there's a scene between Darth Vader and Krennic on the Death Star with other dialogue, and like, let's just get it out of the fucking puff.
Hold on.
Ben Mendelsohn's in that fucking movie. His director Orson Krennic, and he is fucking amazing.
Damn.
He is stellar. He's
Damn.
so like they took the movie and they're like, we've got like elements that are familiar.
Yeah.
It's the rebels. They're on Yavin 4. There's X-wings.
Yes.
There's like fucking Mothma's there.
Oh.
There's like scrappy rebels going to get like this, that. And then you've got the Imperials. You've got the snooty, hoit-toit, sort of well-spoken, cares about himself Imperial villain. But
Yes.
then he's like the villain now.
Trying to plug the leak.
There's no like, I mean, Darth Vader doesn't. There's no like Force user here. It's more like the high. As you say, he's the main guy, which is already an interesting twist. I think the movie is just really fun and interesting, and that it has the whole narrative through it about sort of like Jin. Sorry, I'm trying to like compose my thoughts. Maybe this is why people don't like it, because there's like a lot of like things to say and try and pull it together. Let's start simple. So Rogue One, I think it looks good. It's got a great cast, well played, and they all have a great... I think the narrative's quite great. I think it's an ensemble story, but it sort of really belays half its ensemble. A lot of the guys are just sort of there to be there, and they're cool.
Yeah.
Like Chirrut and Baze, like Donnie Yen. Fucking Donnie Yen's in this movie. Really the only ones that have serious consequences are like Jin and Cassian and kind of Bodhi, I feel. The rest of them are sort of... I say the rest of them really is only just like Chirrut and Baze and K2 and that. But the point is, like, it really focuses in on Jin. Her story, her like dealing with like the loss of her dad and her like feelings about the world and that. Her
Yes.
sort of growing in hope. It's a movie about hope. Star Wars is often about hope, but this one's literally
The last hope.
about hope. Like,
The hope.
characters are talking about how we need to have faith
Capital
we
H,
need
hope.
to push and do this.
Yes.
And I love it for that. I think it's got a really powerful message of like facing the odds. It ends with every character dying.
They all die.
They all die in service of
the
this greater
nuke.
goal, which I think is brilliant. I think that's amazing.
The sacrifice.
Because it's like so weighty. It's like, yep, no, do you know what? They all fucking died because they had that hope, they had that faith and belief, and they were really like engaged with the greater good. And it did pay off. Like that mass
In the end,
sacrifice
it did win.
was for the greater good.
Yes.
And I think that's brilliant. So I don't know what's striking at me in terms of like, why don't I think it's better than it is? I think because it's just a lot of good elements and a lot of good scenes, but nothing is exceptional.
Right.
I think in a way, it's not like it's too familiar because some like there's reviews that say Rogue One was shit because it was fan service. They're like, oh, there's X-Wings in it. Like, obviously there's X-Wings in it. It takes place 5 minutes before A New Hope.
Right.
But like, I thought they were mostly There's a couple of like the heavy-handed references, like R2D2 and C3PO and like Dr. Evans and Ponda Baba and Jeddah. Like, they just didn't need to be there. That was just like, remember A New Hope.
Right.
I think there's just something about it's a bit too like alright. I don't know. See, I'm struggling to figure out why I don't like Rogue One as much as I do.
I think it's missing more Star Wars.
Okay.
In the way that you're saying, like, it didn't have, there's like no Force in this. I think having the Force in it is like integral to it being a Star Wars.
I disagree, especially because in this movie there is as much as they righteously could. There's like Jin's mother is like clearly like big on the Force, and she just gives Jin the crystal, and she's the one who instills like, you know, you have to believe in something, you have to like believe in hope in that, and Jin like visibly carries that with her and goes on through with it. I think the association of Star Wars iconography with being Star Wars is like a threat. I think that's a bad thing because it makes it possible that we could fall into a trap of like, well, we need to see these things. There needs to be the Force. There needs to be X-Wings. There needs to be XYZ because then that way it's Star Wars. That was big when Rogue One came out, was that idea of like you don't need to have it. People were saying like, okay, they put X-Wings in it because it needs to have X-Wings at Star Wars. I'm like, no, it has X-Wings in it because it takes place 5 years for A New Hope. But I do agree with the theory of like, it shouldn't need to have that. Like,
right, yeah.
You don't. I know every Star Wars story needs to have like TM characters.
Yes. Don't know. I feel like it is missing something then. I don't know.
I do feel like it's missing something. But I don't know, the music's great.
I think they could have had less of an ensemble and focus more.
Yes.
Like maybe just those three, and they're all the three we need for the heist. But maybe they just didn't want to do that. They couldn't do it.
Baze and Chirrut I think are superfluous.
Right.
They're really good at exploring like faith again. Every character sort of has a relationship to faith, I guess. Like Jin and Cassian are sort of lost theirs, but Cassian at least believes in something. Chirrut is like a true believer. Baze is like another fallen believer, but he has like a different interpretation of faith and it goes on. And then Bodhi has his whole relationship to like, he was like for the Empire, but then he sort of found out that what was going on and he had his faith changed in that. But like what they do with some of the characters are ultimately superfluous. Like Baze and Chirrut are just sort of there and they just sort of come along for the ride.
Right.
And then it's not like they have an arc. I mean, Baze does. Baze like by the end of it, he's like, do you know what? I will get back in the Force a wee bit. But like that's like more like a moment than an arc. Do you know what I mean? It's more like a character beat than a character arc. So, I mean, having more time with some of them, either like make it longer, like make 2 movies or cut out a couple. As much as I think all the characters individually are great and cool.
Right.
You could have really only been like Jin, probably Cassian because he's like, again, the most developed anyway. And then like at K2 because he's like the comedy relief. And he doesn't need to have a character. He's just like the funny character who like is the muscle. And then Bodhi who's the instigating character.
Right.
And have that be that little focus cell.
Would have been a bit more swallowable.
Yeah. I love Baze and Chirrut, but like, yeah, they are ultimately left a bit superfluous in the grand scheme of things, rather than just sort of propping up the themes and the characters and that. But even then, I find that hard when I'm saying that out loud and I don't 100% agree with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what it is about this movie. I love it a lot, but
it's just not.
Yeah, let me think. I'm scrolling through the movie in my head.
Good, because I've seen it once when it came out. So like,
really?
I haven't watched this in a while.
I've seen it like 2 or 3 times.
Because you like love it though.
I do love it. Yeah, me and my partner are going to watch it one more time as well after Andor's finished.
That makes sense. That's probably when I would rewatch it.
Because it's going to Andor is only going to be helped by Andor. Everything that Andor's done already is like,
I would think so, yeah.
Like really helpful to like specifically Cassian, but then it speaks to like the culture of the world and the universe at that time, and it really feeds into the energy of that. Mostly for Cassian, but in general, it creates like a cool, interesting thing with Mon Mothma as well. To be fair,
true, Mothma.
Maybe that I do have an issue with the holding together tissue because I think about a lot of good moments and then just go, yeah, there were a lot of good moments. I'm not thinking so much about the minute to minute stuff,
right?
Like dialogue, for example. I can't think of a lot of like good like character moments in dialogue between bits. I think fighting with like Saw's in this, and fighting with like Saw in the city is cool. I guess that's it. Nothing is, it's not blended together well enough. I got it.
Right.
It's a lot of cool ideas that
Right.
I like,
Right.
but that's really it.
Right.
So like fighting in Jeddah and the whole ship attacks, that's cool. But it's not like there's no greater thematic significance or deeper storyline. It's just
Right.
a cool sequence.
Right.
And then they go to talk Saw, and that's like a cool moment.
Mm-hmm.
And like
'Cause
the
it's
shit with
Saw.
Jin and her dad is good.
Right.
Jin's arc is cool, and I like that. I appreciate that. But it's just a lot of great moments.
Right.
Something blends together well. Like everything, again, the ending of this film I think is fantastic.
Mm.
But then I guess, other than, for example, there's not like a through line. It's just a bunch of characters going to a place to do a thing. And they have that zhuzh of like, we do need to have hope, we do need to accomplish this. But it's not like, the stakes of this require, like, are dependent entirely on the events of Star Wars Episode 4. Like, you only understand the stakes of Rogue One in terms of like, because it's the Death Star, remember A New Hope.
Right, I guess,
Which
yeah.
I'm not saying isn't explicitly bad. There's a whole thing about how episode...
I mean, but the characters die in this movie.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's not stakes. I mean more like, it's not like they have certain personal stakes to a great degree of that. They all just are believing in like this one goal, and that's
Right.
really it. There's not like a greater thematic or emotional narrative beyond that, other than the concept of we have found belief.
Right.
And they don't really need to grow beyond that, and I think that is fine. But that's why I think that's why it's kept from being better. It's not
Right.
like they didn't wind an even deeper narrative into this. It's just a group of people who struggle with like faith in a greater good, who all slowly and collectively regain that faith to achieve a goal that ultimately is related to this other franchise. There was a lot of complaints
Right.
that Rogue One wouldn't exist without A New Hope. I'm like, shit. No other fucking Star Wars movie would exist without A New Hope.
I guess.
But like,
It's the first.
maybe I'm starting to understand it in terms of like, yeah, it's because they understand the Death Star, which is the thing from A New Hope. That's
Right.
the stakes. It's not like Jin and Cassie and all that need to do this for another reason, or like a more specific personal reason, or like a reason that's directly tied to something in this movie. It's just the Death Star is a problem. We
Right.
need to deal with that. And like,
Well,
you do.
Jin's got a personal reason in it.
She does. But she has a personal stake in terms of
Yeah.
like, I'm just following through on what my dad's done, which, that's a good link. And that's why Jin ultimately ends up being the most interesting.
Right.
Why, like, Bodhi's there because Galen told him to be.
Okay.
Cassian's there just because it's the Empire.
It's his
and
mission. Aye.
like, I need to stop the Empire. Baze and Chirrut are there because it's the right thing to do. And like, most of the characters are just there because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
And that's like fine, but it's not like deeper than that.
Right.
And it would have been better if it was deeper. But then this is, I think I'm speaking more in terms of personal preference rather than actively critiquing the movie.
Okay.
I'm not saying like this movie sucks because it's got that, it's missing X, Y, and Z. I'm saying I think I would have liked it even more than I did if there was a bit more to it
Right.
than what there was. Because, it's not exactly like it was pretending to be more than what it was. It's like, this is a prequel, like a direct prequel to A New Hope. This is about something that's literally in the crawl of A New Hope.
Mm.
So like we know what it's there to do. It's going to be about getting the Death Star plans. It's going to be because we need to destroy the Death Star.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I just think I would have really loved it even more than I currently do. Like I would really seriously love it. Right now I think this is a great movie and I'm really happy with it, but it's not like I'd put it up there.
Right.
I don't think it's in my top 3. Probably like 6th or 7th maybe.
Right.
5th or 6th. I remember like 5th or 6th. Because as I say, it just does a lot of things really well and then that's it.
Okay.
It plateaus on a very nice layer, but it doesn't have any serious peaks. Other than the space battle at the end is great, but that's mostly just because Star Wars does really good space
And
battles.
the literal last scene is amazing.
The what one?
The literal last scene is amazing.
Oh, like the actual oh yeah, so the Darth Vader hallway scene. Yeah, I agree. That's just fucking total like fan service schlock.
Yes.
Like, I don't give a fuck. It is amazingly cool to watch. It is great that there is like a clear cinematic moment of Darth Vader being the most monsters he is. Because to be fair, something that people realise is the more that you emphasise Darth Vader a bad guy, it gets a bit repetitive to be fair. But a lot of good like comics and novels and like Rogue One and that, if you properly emphasise that Darth Vader is a really bad guy, it really helps you understand the depth and the pain of the transition and then the eventual strength of the redemption that Luke was able to pull him out of such a pit.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like it for that.
Peak.
But it's also just very cool.
Very.
Great music.
Very
Yeah, Michael J.
nice.
Keano did the score for this.
Looked amazing.
It was good. It did look amazing, yeah. The cinematography was actually really good in this film. I think Gareth Edwards really was like good. I like Gareth Edwards. He did Godzilla. I need to watch the creator. Apparently the creator's fucking incredible.
Man, okay.
Like, let's go. Gareth Edwards
Let's
is just
go.
like a sci-fi guy now.
So Ghost in the Shell.
Was he Ghost in the Shell?
No. Just it looks a bit Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, creator looks a bit Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, I wonder if it, like, because I've not seen or read Ghost in the Shell, so I wonder if I'd like watch it and be ignorant, and then you'd be like, that's just like a rip off of Ghost in the Shell.
I mean, Ghost in the Shell is just like, I don't know, man, it's a bit like all that sci-fi stuff where it's like AI creates or invades like human body or like robot body,
right?
Realizes it's AI. Oh my god,
The Matrix.
The Matrix. Here we are.
The
I watched The
Matrix.
Matrix 4 recently. Actually,
Did you?
I did.
What did you think of it?
I don't know.
Really? That's
and
weird,
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I was going to say, everyone either loves it or hates it, so you just being like, I don't know, is like...
I don't know, I think like, I feel like when we eventually watch them, I'm really interested in what your takes are on them, because I just don't know what to make it.
I've definitely watched like one or two of them, and it's been that
definitely
long.
Doesn't really exist.
What, Matrix 4?
Aye, and they clearly point it out in the film.
Okay.
It's like very heavy-handed about saying like, we're back again, but like we didn't really need to be here again.
Mm-hmm.
And they just do that for like the first half of the movie. And I just don't know what to make it on the end, to be honest with you.
That's fascinating, bro. Yeah, we'll definitely watch that and then we'll do a wee episode about it, because I would love to sit down and watch them all. I've only watched like one or two a couple of times. No, not even a couple of times, that's a lie. Just like, I've definitely watched one of the original three at some point, and that's literally as far as I can remember.
Bro, man is ready.
Man. Oh. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much as far as I can say about one. I've talked about it more than you, sorry, because it's more mine.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about it, to be honest. Like, all the good things you mentioned I agree with. We obviously thought about maybe if they cut it down the cast slightly, it probably would have helped it. But I just think it's like, okay, it's just sort of there.
But yeah, I think you and me basically agree in terms of nothing about it stands out so exceptionally well.
Yeah.
It's just, I value what's in it more than you do, basically. I personally like things in it more than you do. So, like, if we looked at it as two wedges on, like, a graph, like, my wedge is higher just because I like things in it more than you. Like, but we both agree that it doesn't spike.
I think if it was never made and season 3 of Andor is this movie, that's probably better for it in the end.
Damn, that's literally unbelievably of a pogged out idea. If you just let Tony Gilroy fucking cook as far as humanly possible.
Yeah, like, I think that probably helps in the end, because in the end, like you say, Andor's just going to make it better, and Andor is going to make it better because it's focusing on Andor specifically and looking at the rebellion through his eyes, and that is probably what's going to help this film at the back end. I
do agree with that. It's like picking Andor's a good idea because like he's the one who does have the most, like, he in that movie he specifically like addresses, I have like a dark past, I have shit going on, but we're not going to go too far into it. So you know there's something there. Like Jin, I don't need you to do any more with Jin Erso. Do you know what I mean? Also, sorry, I was just double checking because Tony Gilroy did the screenplay. Tony Gilroy and Chris Weitz did the screenplay for Rogue One. Right. I kept saying Gary Whitta. Gary Whitta and John Knoll did the story because I'm pretty sure the original pitch. Right. As like, theirs. I've got this, and I'm gonna say it in a minute because it's important I get this. Because but Andor's the one with a lot more to do and to say. Aye. So obviously picking him is good, but Rogue One being like just Andor season 3, and it's just like you could still have Jin and have her story happen, but like it's just like really really tight and focused. But it also has like 9 episodes. Oh my god, that would have been amazing. Yeah. So John Knoll is the visual effects supervisor of the prequels, and he pitched in 2003 this movie basically. The concept of this story, movie, pretty much about getting like the Death Star plans. He never really got into it though because it was a cancelled show that he pitched it for. But then the Disney acquisition, basically, I have to like pitch this. So he like went and pitched it to Disney because he's like, if I don't pitch this, they're going to miss it. And he did. He was like, here's what I think should happen. And Disney were like, we want it, we like it. Good on you for pitching it. And then they grabbed Gary, and then they get Gary to write the script and Gareth Edwards to direct. Right, so Gary Whitta finished work on this. Oh, so Gary Whitta might have worked on the original one. In 2015, he completed his work on the script and would no longer be on the project. And then Chris Weitz signs in to write the script. So is a rewrite? Must be like a rewrite. Well, yeah, Tony Gilroy. The film, 2016 reports emerged the film would undergo 5 weeks of reshoots with Tony Gilroy writing additional scenes, as well as acting as a second unit director under Gareth Edwards. That's really actually interesting. I forgot how fucked up this was. Man, so trouble production. Chris McQuarrie worked on the script at one point, like he had a little bit. Damn, bro. That's really interesting. There's so much we could talk about the making of certain Star Wars things. But yeah, I won't waffle anymore. I think it's good. It just never peaks too much. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll now talk about Solo because that's another movie. We'll wrap out the movies. Solo, a Star Wars story. Now I believe this is the thing I was thinking of. I mean, I heard that story about John Knoll pitching it, But I also think I think it was Lawrence or John Kasdan, had this idea for a Han Solo story. And I think George was like, we'll do it.
Right.
And I think that was like a staple of him. When the deal for Disney, I'm pretty sure George had it written.
That
Like,
we need to
make this movie for the Kasdans.
Right.
Don't quote me on that, anybody listening. I'm pretty sure that's roughly what it was. So, Solo: A Star Wars Story, when it was announced, I was embarrassed by it. I'm like, I don't want this.
Oh my god.
I don't want like it's because I thought it was going to be like a shitty Marvel-esque, like, oh, who are you? I'm Solo, Han Solo, and this is where I get my iconic blaster and my iconic Millennium Falcon. Red Letter Media made like a parody about this, and I don't agree with them on most things, but I agree with them on that. Like, I was worried it was going to be like it's going to be like a shitty, like, how did Han Solo get his iconic fucking vest?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then the movie came out in the middle of fucking May, and then attempted to meet Deadpool and fucking Infinity War at the box office.
Yeah.
So Disney just didn't want that movie to make money.
Yeah. It's a failure of the like business level. I don't think the film's that bad.
Yeah,
It's
the film's
definitely-
fucking great, IMO.
Yeah, well, I think it's better than Rogue One.
Okay.
It's probably my second favourite of the like new wave.
Like the Disney
of
era?
Yeah, of like movies.
Okay. That's fascinating, but I don't even disagree with you on that. I actually really like Solo.
Yeah, and well, they had the like momentum, like it's coming out every year. It's Christmas.
Yeah, they had
Doing
the
a Star
Christmas
Wars
slot
at
unlocked.
Christmas.
Yeah, and
So
it was great
We just decided to move it like months ahead
for like no good reason.
again to meet like the biggest hitters, like Deadpool 2, was it?
I think it was Deadpool 2,
Right. After the success of the first one, crazy. It's like one of the first R-rated movies to hit like that much money, and then Infinity War,
fucking Infinity
the
War.
other biggest movie ever made. What are you trying to do? You're playing against yourself twice.
You are, they're literally... Well, at this point,
they
I think
hadn't
it's still
bought
Fox, to
yeah,
be
they
fair,
hadn't,
yeah.
but still you're
Even
playing
then,
against...
still, you're playing against what? And you're playing against... To put yourself against Infinity War, that's
That's
a
dumb.
terrible idea. Then also, they just didn't market the movie.
Yeah.
That movie didn't have a trailer for like until like 2 months before it came out. Or like, it get like barely any trailers. They like weirdly enough refused to reveal the name of the film for whatever. We all just kept calling it Solo as a catch-all, and then they were
Yeah.
like, "We're calling the movie Solo,",
Solo.
and we're like, "All right, it's just what we thought it was."
Damn.
So I went into it being like, "Oh, this is gonna be shit," and then it was actually really fucking good.
I enjoyed it, yeah. I think it's good.
It was really good. So first and foremost, Alden Ehrenreich was probably, I think, the best thing in the film. Maybe Alden and Donald Glover. I was worried, obviously,
Well, we
we're
know
gonna.
who Disney preferred.
What?
We know who Disney preferred.
Oh well, yeah. That's fucked. See that's fucked. By the way, I'm
Yeah.
pissed about that. Like, I was like, okay, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be like people doing like an impression, but like Donald
Nah,
and
man.
Arnold were like.
Yeah, they kind of own it.
I just said Donald and Arnold.
Oh,
Arnold, they do own it. They give enough of themselves while really implicitly grabbing what they need to from Harrison and Billy D.
Yeah.
And then it creates like, yeah, I completely believe these are just younger versions of those characters. They look great, they sound great, and the plot's like cool and fascinating. It does do a bit of what I said, that whole like, how does Han Solo get the iconic ship, the Millennium Falcon?
How does he get his name?
But okay, that one bit is probably the worst bit of the whole movie.
Yeah, I know.
That's literally the dumbest bit. No even any joke. Completely
Yeah,
that
that's
question.
Yeah, no cap. That's bad.
Terrible joke there. But like, it's more focused on like taking it in an emotional direction. Like the bigger thing of this movie is how Han meets Chewie and how they become friends. It's like, oh,
Yes.
okay, that's actually interesting. And there's like, he saves his life in this prison, and then that's kind of where the life debt starts, I guess. And
Yes.
then like they just go in and they just become friends.
Some
And
besties.
it's fascinating. It's got some fascinating zhuzh to it because it's like, okay, we're in the original trilogy era, but we're dealing with like the criminals and the underworld and
The spice trades.
the Empire are really here as a threat, but they're not like
Oh.
Han Solo isn't here to like defeat the Emperor. Or, like,
Yeah, I'm
save
just
the
out
galaxy.
for myself.
He's just running drugs and making some fucking dosh.
Some of that credit,
Swish.
bro. Try to find my girl.
Yeah, Emilia Clarke was in this movie. Is Kira, and they just introduced this whole wild ass like criminal side of stuff,
The criminal syndicate.
which has still been wildly curious to me. They've always avoided going too far into in the extended canon. Like Kira came back recently. But like they've not really explained what there's a book coming out, so that'll explain it. But they haven't explained like what's the deal with Crimson Dawn, who's Paul Bettany's character Dryden Voss, who's like what's the deal with like Kira, and then the surprise twist at the end, fucking Darth Maul.
Darth Maul. Peter Serafinowicz.
It's not Peter Serafinowicz.
Is he not even the body double for it?
No,
Damn, man. I
it's
thought it was.
Ray Park's body,
But-
and they blend Ray Park and Sam Witwer's voices for the dialogue he has.
Okay.
Which fucking shame for Peter Serafinowicz.
Poor Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah.
I think they phoned him. I think he spoke in an interview like they phoned
They
him.
must have. Like
I
have
think
to check
he was
that.
defo checked with, I think.
But like every aspect of that, I thought had the capacity to be shit and schlocky.
Yeah, if dealt with poorly.
But it just wasn't. It was just interesting and fun.
Cool. I was ready for more.
Like that's
like Solo 2 possible. Let's go.
Biggest thing coming out was like I would see more of this. There's a little bit more that you could tell here.
Yeah.
Which was wild because again I'm like I fucking hate Han Solo. I don't give a fuck Han Solo. I love Han Solo now compared to like fucking Luke Skywalker. Fuck that guy.
Damn, man.
I'm like, do a Solo series or something. Do like more and more.
Yeah.
We may eventually see some dividends on this promised Lando situation.
Well, we're getting a movie now, not a series.
So. But like we don't know if it's got Billy D or Donald in it, but Donald's writing it.
Bro, maybe it's both.
Oh my god. Serafinowicz did actually record the lines and then they just cut him out.
There you go, man. I knew he was in it. I knew it, man. I knew he was involved.
Fucked, actually. That's a bit fucked.
Man, the poor guy. Cannot
I
catch
like
a break.
Serafinowicz's voice as
Me
well.
too. It's really good.
Fuck, okay, that's annoying.
I mean, I suppose like Maul's voice now is not as associated with Serafinowicz. It's more.
That's true. It is Whitwer. But then, okay, with all due respect, I'm 99% sure what I said was true, and that they blended Park and Whitwer. If they didn't, then at least it was Park in the bodysuit, no matter what.
Whitwer, yeah.
And he was like mouthing. Blend Whitwer and Serafinowicz then.
Sure.
Whitwer's
just trying to do Serafinowicz anyway.
Yeah, Whitwer's just angrier. Like Serafinowicz is raspy.
Yeah.
At last we will reveal ourselves. Whereas like Sam Whitwer would probably do that line like at last we will reveal ourselves. So like there's a scale there. So just blend them and it'll match.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed about that actually. Poor Peter Serafinowicz.
Man, aye. Poor guy.
But yeah, so it's just that fascinating, like a whole bunch of shit on the world to like think about and like, oh, there's all these cool characters and it's a heist movie. That's like just
a heist
new.
movie.
Like Rogue One was like it was like more towards espionage, but it was still ultimately the rebellion and like hoorah, we're saving the day from the evil empire. Yeah. This was like no, it's a fucking heist movie. This is like a bunch of criminals.
We're stealing shit.
Literally.
I'm gonna do the Kessel Run.
And that's another thing where it was like, oh, they're gonna like do the
Fan
Kessel
service.
Run.
Yeah.
But then it was still kind of like, oh, it's like a
cool
thing and it's relevant.
And it's visually nice.
So yeah, I think I like Solo in retrospect because it was nowhere near as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it also suffered through extraneous development hell.
Yes, Big Ron came in
Big
at the
Ron
end.
came in to save the day from fucking Lord and Miller.
Lord and Miller, man.
So I think.
Well, I mean, they've failed upwards. That's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say
they've succeeded in life. It's okay.
Maybe passing on Star Wars was the win, not the fail.
Probably the win. Yeah.
They were going to make it too funny. Kathleen was like, look, this is too much of a comedy. I still wanted to be a bit serious, which, considering we didn't see what that movie looked like, I can't say I agree with her.
Ha. Ironic.
Were you dancing? What do you think?
It's funny, I don't know.
How is it ironic?
I just think it's funny.
This Graham famously thinks the sequels are unfunny coming back through.
Yes. Sometimes they're funny. They're just not as funny as they want to be, I think. But yeah, continue, yeah, sorry.
Fucking comedy is too subjective. I hate talking about this because every joke.
I agree.
Every joke he found not funny, I found funny, but then like, all the jokes he found funny, I didn't care for. So it's like
that's the like.
But whatever. No, I get you. I won't. I can't fight you. We'll joke about it in the sequels episode, but I can't fight you on it.
It's gonna be a raucous episode.
It's gonna be just insanity. I think I'm worried it will just be nonsense.
That's what it'll be great for.
Oh, bro. It's just wild that all that went down, but they still managed to turn around. And in this case,
and made an okay film.
Like I think there's glaring issues with it in certain ways.
Right. I think the start's too long.
Would you define as the start?
Like before he gets taken and like leaves.
Okay, so from like, literally the start up to like he's in the pit with Chewbacca.
Yeah, I think that we could cut a bit of that out maybe. And then like the heist stuff's fine with like Woody Harrelson and stuff. Is it Woody Harrelson? Woody
Harrelson's the main guy.
Yeah, that's all fine. Maybe cut. I don't know if that goes a bit too long, but I think maybe cut a bit of that.
I think the heist and that themselves go fine. I mean, maybe you could have streamlined Kessler a bit. The first thing that jumps out to me is like the bizarre misuse of some of the extra characters.
Right.
They had Tandy Newton.
Yep.
And fucking Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau's in this movie?
Jon Favreau is the fucking little four-armed motherfucker.
Oh my god, driving the ship.
I'm going to double check that, but I'm 99.999% sure.
Damn, man. Bro, is he the same race as the guy in Jedi Survivor?
No.
Nah, just
is he?
Just both have forearms.
Is he? I'm going to check that as well while I'm here. You wasted those characters really badly. Especially Newton. Like, I fucking love Newton
she had that, like, weird,
so much.
She had that weird vibe with Woody Harrelson. Doing like a thing, right?
They basically said, we have all this little stuff here. And then they completely, and by the way, she's dead and that's it. And I'm like, you made it too interesting, can I be frank? You made it too interesting.
Is that just her performance, though, that's like draw out?
Possibly, I suppose. And it
was never the plan to make her better?
Oh, God, that would be sad, though.
But that's what you get with
Rio Durant, he's an Ardenian. I don't think Grease is an Ardenian.
Grease. Ardenian?
No, Grease is a Latero.
Oh man. Xenoblade? Ardenian?
Morardain? Morag?
Morag?
Morag Xenoblade?
Yes, Morag. Oh bro, sorry, can we sidetrack here?
Oh.
Did you see the Xenoblade drama on Twitter?
No, what happened on Twitter?
Man, do you know that picture recently that's going about, and it's like, what's your take? And it's Patrick chained.
Yes.
It was like, what's your Xenoblade take? And it was like, someone say something about like it's sexualized or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy tweeted like defending it or something. And then that person who they replied to found out that they're actually a registered sex offender.
Well, the one defending the sexualization or the one that's opposing the sexualization?
The one that attacked the comment of saying it was sexualized.
Right, okay.
So they were like, oh, well, you're a pedo. Obviously you would think that, you know? And it booted off, man. It was trending for like 2 days. I was like, oh my god. Xenoblade Twitter has died today.
Thing to get in a fucking fight about
Oh,
as
it's
well.
so wild, bro.
What a way to oust yourself as well.
Oh, I know. Man deleted his account so fast.
Oh, bro, guy was sent to the shadow realm for that one.
Gone, fam.
Like, gone, reduced to atoms, mate.
Yes. Cannot be found.
Oh, that's fucked, actually.
It was wild, bro.
Oh.
Wild.
Aye. That's fucking funny.
That was some sidetrack, but
No, it's fucking hilarious. Maybe you're right that like the character didn't need me anymore, but like just Newton was so great.
Yeah.
Plus, I was off watching Westworld, so I was like, oh,
so you're in it.
that's an actress. But like, I still feel like like you had a bunch of characters and you just sort of threw a couple of them at the wall, and they're like,
Some stick, some don't. Like,
yeah,
Solo in the end does stick. Kira in the end wins it over.
I think the film could have looked better. I think it's getting the cinematography's not
It
that
looks a
great.
bit great at the end, especially.
Well,
on
it's
the
all
beach
it's
and
all
stuff.
very one color.
Right.
Like Corellia is just quite grey.
Yep.
Vandor, the snow planet, is just quite white. Kessel's just quite brown. Again, you see it gets quite grey. Like it's quite grey towards the end. I mean, the last
Even,
planet,
like,
Savarine, was like just bright and like sandy. There wasn't really much of visual diversity in it. It didn't need to be per se, but still, it was like you could have done more.
Yeah, like Solo is like Han's meant to have like a look, like he's got a jacket. It's like a distinct colour, and it does get muddied out a lot.
Aye, that his cool like solo jacket is just the same brown as like a lot of the backgrounds.
Yeah.
So the colour grading and all that, and like the visual design was maybe a bit too flat. It's not without benefit. I really like the train heist. I really like Vandor and like the pure electronic train. I like the range troopers. I know that's a really weird specific thing to call out, but I fucking love those trooper designs. You know, the ones with the magnetic boots and the big furry coats.
Right.
I fucking love those designs. I don't know why. I just think they're fucking top level. You know what I mean?
I think the visual stuff's probably down to like it's contrasting directors. So like,
Yeah, it's changed hands a
Ron
wee
comes
bit.
in and Lord Miller wanted a different thing. He wants a different
I
thing,
don't
so,
really
like,
know,
had
like-
to marry it together.
So Ron Howard's like, what does he really get up to these days? Because Ron Howard's like an
much
old
now.
movie maker, isn't he?
He doesn't do much now.
So like I can't really, it's weird to look at it in comparison to classic Ron Howard stuff. It almost just feels like it wasn't a Ron Howard movie, it was just Ron Howard was just saving the movie.
Yeah.
We got a competent director in to just make a movie out of it.
Like I couldn't tell you what Ron Howard's style is or what a Ron Howard movie would be like if I had to close my eyes. But I know he's done some good movies. I've seen some good movies of his. I don't know exactly what they are.
No, me too. Like I definitely seen a couple of Ron Howard movies, but they're old. So it's like and even then, as you say, there's like style stuff that I can't really pull out and think, oh yeah, that's a Ron Howardism. But yeah, I think it's like they had a bunch of stuff that was in flux, so they just got this competent director in who just made it. He just managed to string it along, and that's, to be fair, give it up for Ron, because yeah, that was his great strength. He did take it and make it competent and good and interesting and a lot of fun things. Like interesting stories. Again, nothing is extremely jump out and grabby, but this one beats Rogue One in a certain ways. Even though I think I do like Rogue One more in retrospect.
I think just a more enjoyable watch, a more engaging film.
It's so diverse and there's a lot of more fun and interesting things. That gives it a lot of staying power.
Right.
It being a Star Wars heist movie,
I mean,
in itself is like
if you'll excuse the pun, it's a solo focus.
that too. Aye, no,
So
you're not even
we're
wrong.
just on him here, really.
Literally,
He is the goal. Explore Solo.
That's like it really is streamlined to be like a good like focused A to B to C. The characters are all clear and distinct, and there's not a lot left up to the imagination. To be fair, even the one like Dryden, the only thing that really is missing is like certain like Dryden Voss is just like a big evil gangster, which is fine, and like Tobias Beckett is just the Duplessis one who betrays him, which is fine. Again, it's another one where like, maybe if they did just a bit more, it could have been more interesting, but. Again, this one didn't need to be. Completely like streamlined, a complete package, and that's really a strength of that movie. So big ups to Ron Howard, and big ups for like, the whole thing turning out all right, because it could have been an absolute disaster.
Yes.
Like it could have just been a schlocky fan service nightmare where everyone's like, "Wow, remember Han Solo? He's so cool." This one's kind of like, remember Han Solo? He's a fucking arsehole.
Bit of a dick, ain't
Bit
he?
of a dick.
But that's why we love him.
Remember Lando Calrissian? He's a bit of a fucking dick.
He's got a gambling problem. He has like a weird thing for his robot. It's a bit
Weird thing with his robot. Weird thing with his capes. But I love it. I love Lando in this because he is just like, he's like prime smooth talker.
Yeah.
You can tell in the later movies he's like, oh, I'm older now, I'm more refined, I've mellowed out. But back then he's like, no, I'm a fucking gambler, I'm a drinker, I'm have sex with anything that moves, and I love capes.
I love capes.
I love that. I give it a big thumbs up. So yeah, I'm really happy with that.
What's next?
So what's next? What's next is probably cutting the episode in 2.
Well, definitely that.
Because we really have been pushing it. Future you in here, we did in fact need to cut it. Tune in next time for the rest of the original trilogy.
Scenes is a fan-created podcast. We have no affiliation with any of the brand studios or properties mentioned. All views are our own.
Produced and edited by my partner, Rebecca. Music is provided by Epidemic Sound, and the cover artwork was commissioned by Rhiannon Cargo on Twitter or Instagram.